Hey everyone, Happy New Year and welcome back to our DC Films podcast. This is episode 22 and I know it's been a while since you guys have heard from us. The holiday season just ended and of course we've all been busy with work, family, whatever the case may be. But we're back to do probably one of the most highly anticipated things we've done as far as the podcast goes. We're finally all doing our Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition commentary. Again, we've all been looking forward to this for a while. We've tried to organize it before the holidays, but it just didn't really work out. But one thing I want to do is, before we introduce everyone else, we do have someone new joining the podcast. So if you want to go and introduce yourself.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Yeah. Hello. Okay. Okay. Hi. My name's Rebecca. I'm the Endeavor on Tumblr.
And thanks for joining us. I know you've been a part of the group chat for about a month now, but this is your first official podcast, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Hey.
And now also joining us is the usual group of people and some people coming back who haven't been on in a while. So if each of you guys want to go around and reintroduce yourselves to the listeners.
Okay, hi, I'm Emily from the last comic. I've had a busy.
Yeah, that's fine. We've all been a little busy.
I'm Story
Danielle,
Advocate,
and I'm so much
Katie.
braver
Sorry.
on Tumblr.
I did it backwards. Whatever.
No, I'm not. I'm a Social Justice League on Tumblr. I used to be though. Holy crap.
Okay, hi, I'm Jean. I haven't been here in ages, so hi, I'm back. I'm Batch Activity on Tumblr.
All right, so I'm ready to go whenever you guys are, as far as starting
Been
the
ready
movie.
for weeks and weeks and weeks,
I
man.
know. All right, so let me just make sure we're all good to go. So basically Danielle's gonna be kind of running the show because we are watching her version. So basically, whenever you want to hit start, Danielle.
Alrighty.
All right,
Let me figure out my thing.
Okay. So we're just about to get started. Everyone listening, we're starting right now.
It's time. Let's go.
Do this thing, baby.
I love these credits, by the way, because leaves and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here we go. We're starting.
I love the leaves.
Snyder always finds these amazing ways to I don't know, blend the credits with the cinematography so that it draws attention to something.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think an example of that was one of the opening scenes of Watchmen might have been with putting the flower on the gun.
Oh yeah, that was really powerful. And that's funny because I've seen that post coming around on Tumblr and people really praise it, and I'm just like, well, you guys love that. I mean, if you guys actually gave his other movies a shot, you might like those too.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Okay. But I mean, it shows up in the first scene of PBS. I guess we can point it out. He does the exact same thing. Yeah. But...
Yeah, so we're about
There was a time above.
God, I love Bruce's opening monologue right here.
There were perfect things.
This is grade A Chris Terrio dialogue right here.
Things fall. Things on Earth. And what falls is found.
I already have to.
We've all seen so many versions of young Bruce losing his parents, but this is by far my favorite one.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Ultimate Edition.
I love how understated the title credits are.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, the Mask of Zorro and Camelot. No, I don't Camelot.
And Excalibur too.
Oh.
Don't forget Excalibur.
Oh my gosh.
Every time I start this film now, all I think about is how much I neglected, how much I didn't appreciate the music when we had it.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this soundtrack came out, a week before the movie, and all I did was listen to this first track, and I was like, oh my gosh.
You know what's funny? When the soundtrack first came out, I remember I was listening to the Wonder Woman track, The Issue with You, and I wasn't as crazy about it. Without context, it didn't feel like as like visceral and epic to me. And then of course with her entrance with the music, I'm just like, okay, I love it now, and I want to listen to this all day, every day.
Yep. Yep.
So powerful.
I love the fist. Like, I know that's been a thing in the comics.
Oh my
before
god, like,
somebody mentioned,
you guys
so-
know like about the whole movie, like it got sparks for
Mm-hmm.
the like everything.
Mm-hmm. And that's something I love. This is a very like artistic version of the Wayne murders.
Yes, you see
And
this? The
it's-
credit. Oh.
So guys, I didn't like even realize this before, but watching this movie versus like Batman Begins, it's like he doesn't. It's like nobody cares about Martha dying. Like
Yeah.
it's just like his dad,
Yeah.
and she's just like there, and the camera isn't even interested in her. You know.
I feel like the movie itself wasn't really interested in her, to be honest, because the focus so much on in those films was on the dad. Like she wasn't even like hardly mentioned at all in the rest of the movies. Like in The Dark Knight Rises, there was a mention of Thomas, and they have the flashback to him. But that was one of the things I loved about this version, is that they emphasize Martha's importance to Bruce as his mother.
Yep.
I mean, people complain as much as they want about the whole Martha scene or whatever, but coming from someone who's lost their mom, like that is gonna like, especially with your father's last words being your mother's name, that's gonna stick with you for the rest of your life.
Oh, yes. And in a very traumatic way.
Now, I remember being a little confused by this scene at first.
Yeah. I mean, okay, wait, hold on. I will save it.
I think I just loved how it continually works in little clues that it's not quite what I think it is.
Yeah.
Like, all the fast eyes light up.
Yeah.
I think that so many times people watch these things and they think that they're confused on accident when it's
Yeah.
very obviously composed in a way that they're meant to be confused. And I think that that really throws people off because I think that it's not a familiar film technique to them. Like they're like sort of like, well, if a film is succeeding, then it's going to be really, really clear what's happening. And it's like, this is an intentionally confusing scene. Like that pearl dropping by his hand is supposed to like screw you up. It's supposed to make your brain go, wait, what?
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you know what? And here's the other thing, which is that I feel like Zack Snyder has achieved something in like post viewer awareness thing, where it's like he manages to genuinely confuse you. It's like you know about all the cinematic devices, and people will be like, oh yeah, I know that it's supposed to be ambiguous, but it's like in this one, it's like you absolutely have no idea whether or not it's supposed to be ambiguous or not.
Yeah.
Like he succeeds on like both sides.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the entire
It's a
film.
legit-
And I'm going to say that every scene,
like,
but I love this.
feel it.
And the fact that they worked it so beautifully together
With
the
Man of
ending of
Steel,
Man of Steel.
yeah.
I mean, everything about it, I'm like, this is so awesome. It is fabulous. But don't ever listen to the song and drive because you just start driving faster.
Bruce, Jack, listen to me. I want you to get everyone out of the building right now.
One thing I gotta say too, especially looking back after Justice League, I don't think we're ever gonna get this great of Bruce Wayne and Batman performance out of Ben again.
Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed.
And it's sad because like unless Matt Reeves keeps him on, which is really up in the air at this point, I don't know what's gonna happen with Ben in his portrayal of Batman. Because in Justice League, there are scenes where you can still tell that he's doing his best, but in all the reshoots, he's like, you can tell he's like not nearly as into it because he's like, well, I have to come back for this and redo everything that I already did. So
Yep.
my
I think
F-
he had a really special experience with this film and with Zack and with the idea of Batman and really getting into it. And then he probably had a really good experience filming Justice League the first time around. And then to have that taken and kind of tainted and crapped on, really just, I think he's very disenchanted. And I think he's just, you're right. He was just phoning it in, and it was like, this is.
And I don't blame him
because I have
either.
to
It's
be.
not his fault.
I don't either. Oh, I don't either. I'm disenchanted. Heck.
Hey guys,
Uh-huh.
is it like possible to like turn down the volume of the movie because like
There's a
like,
volume bar. You,
like,
you can control the
occasionally you
volume
guys,
on your
like,
end. If you
yeah,
fade
there's
out,
the
sort
volume
of.
button above our faces, like
yes,
above
the little volume bar
the
you can control on your own. Because I had that problem too, where the movie was a little loud, so I had to turn it down a bit.
Yep. I love watching him run.
Oh God,
I
me
don't know
too.
what it is. I mean, maybe it's just Ben.
Oh,
Maybe it's
cool.
because he's in peak condition, but it's also just Bruce running, and I don't know.
Well,
That is really awesome.
Do you know what really sucks? This part, like where in Man of Steel, the part where Zod like shoots the heat vision out of his eyes, and then Clark like flies through it, and like there's this whirlpool of like debris around him. That's like one of my favorite moments, and now I can't enjoy it because I know that this guy is dying.
yeah, I know.
Aww. Evocative images.
I know. And this, like in looking at this movie and this version of the character, like this was Bruce's breaking point. Like he was already like broken because of obviously because of the death of Robin, but this just pushed him over the edge.
Yes, it really did.
Yeah, my girlfriend was talking about the was talking about Justice League because we talk about Justice League a lot in my household. But
Same
we were
here.
talking about sort of like Diana and Bruce's big conflict in the film and how it doesn't really make any sense to us for him to be like, why haven't you been Superman all this time? But it would have made a lot of sense for him to be like, where were you on this day? Where were you on the worst day of my life? That question, I feel like, would have been emotionally resonant for this Batman because this is terrible. Like, you have to, like, you know, if you find all these heroes, you have to at some point be like, you know, what were you doing? Were you just sitting watching this on TV? And why?
Look at that cross shape.
Yeah.
God, I also
Yeah.
would have really
The
liked to
symbolism's
know
everywhere.
what exactly she was doing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was definitely one of the reshoot
My
scenes.
theory?
Yeah. You know, Artom had that post about comparing like all the reshoot scenes. Like, yeah, that was definitely one of the reshoots, and it's just like I'm just really bitter because I can't
It's
even
so
say that
obvious.
it wasn't followed through on. Yeah. And yeah, go ahead, Becca.
Oh, sorry. Do you guys? Artyom like went on this like rant on his Twitter, and he compared like the scene
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
trailer when the scene when they were all sitting around with the mother box.
Yeah.
Bruce's clothes are different. Arthur's clothes are different.
Everyone's
it's so
different,
obvious
yeah.
that it's a reshoot.
Yeah,
it's like they didn't even
Yeah.
try to get the same costume. Like
No, and the thing is, he's
he
dressed.
didn't even get the same costume.
In the reshoots, he's dressed like Tony Stark. He talks like Tony Stark. He
Yeah.
is Tony Stark. It's like when he started talking, I was like, "This isn't Batman. This is just Tony Stark." I want to quit.
Okay, one thing, like, to go back to the movie, no, not to sound rude or anything. I mentioned this with Katie when we did, I mentioned this to Katie when we did our commentary last year, but this scene, just look at the use of color in this scene alone, to me, smashes any criticism or comment about Zach not being able to use color. This is amazing use of color in this scene.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and just like anytime
But listen, I'm sorry, I'm going crazy. Please talk.
yes.
I think if anything, when you move from set to set, things change so much in terms of color that it might be that people are having a really hard time seeing it as one complete narrative because things are so different. But you have to, in terms of like moving all over the world, like the only way that you can really make that feel like that's what's happening is by these really large color changes and these really like going from out in the ocean to the desert, and this transition changes the complete feel of that scene. And that's just good filmmaking. Like, I don't know what to tell people when they're mad about this kind of stuff.
And here's a boy that so many fanboys got
I
mad
think
that they
it's-
killed off.
Jimmy Olsen, photographer, obviously.
I think it's pretty crazy, but like, you know those videos that people do where they recolor the movie?
Oh, God.
Somebody recolored the ocean scene. And it's like, why are you recoloring a scene that already has plentiful amounts of color? Like, do you see something wrong with it? I don't see anything wrong with it.
We're just petty.
Okay, this is the lowest.
Well, like, sometimes all they're doing too is just like making people like extra pink.
I know.
And it's like,
and that's what Joss did.
What is,
That's what
why?
Joss did.
No, it's like these things are toned a certain way for a reason, you know. It builds a certain atmosphere to the scene, and it's like, yeah, you can make it colorful and have every like frame display the entire spectrum of your rainbow, but like that's just taking away like the intention in that the director had in toning that scene, right?
One thing I want to say to any fans of Smallville, the fact that they got the guy who played Lex Luthor's brother to play Jimmy Olsen, I thought was pretty cool.
Isn't that cute? Like, once a Superman actor, always a Superman actor. I love when we recycle people.
Well, that was like in Justice League, they got the original Jimmy Olsen from the Christopher Reeve movies to be the one prison guard.
Oh yeah.
They did not tell me the interview was with the
I'm not a lady, I'm a journalist.
I love that line so much.
I love Lois so much.
Is a man with nothing.
Like, I'm really sad that this particular scene got cut from the theatrical cut because like it's just classic Lois, you
It
know.
really is.
It's Lois all over,
And
and
I
I'm
love
just
like
I'm
even the small
sad.
amounts of banter between her and Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a camera.
I think this is the one scene that, like, if they had to cut everything but one scene, this is the scene that they should have left alone. Because they just massacred the scene, like, honestly.
Yeah, it just made no sense.
This character is so underrated, and this character sets up so much thematic content for this movie. Like, if you're actually listening to his dialogue, which people aren't, and I can tell you why people aren't listening to his dialogue, but...
And this is great dialogue. This is the stuff
all of
that
it, all the way
was missed
through.
in Justice League. So we get stuff like this, and then go to Justice League being like, a woman says an alien stole her man.
Yeah.
God, I hated that part of Justice
Thirsty.
League. It was so stupid.
They're after us.
Don't leave it up.
Yeah.
CIA.
No,
Some people like
he's the photographer.
cursing Zach because he killed Jimmy Olsen, but it's like, he killed a lot of people in this movie, you know?
It might not even
cared
have
about
been-
Jimmy Olsen.
It's okay, Lois.
I think
Like,
it's kind of
it
amazing.
was a
how people
cover,
are
right? His name was like,
so sold on
yeah,
certain
it
journeys.
it was a cover identity. So maybe the real Jimmy Olsen is still alive. We don't know.
And even if this is Jimmy Olsen, like,
But then
it's not
it wouldn't be
that
safe
bad.
to use.
Like, I think also the fact that because Supergirl's still going on, they're using Jimmy Olsen
Challenge down, sir.
in that show.
Python, we have
not the
lost
way
our
he
asset
deserves,
on the ground.
but
Repeat, we
they
have
are
lost our
using
asset
it.
on the ground.
Still a civilian in the
so-
compound. We'll extract her.
I don't.
Negative.
I'm
Our
I'm a, look, I'm a
stand
diehard
down and
Superman
get
fan.
black.
Well,
I'm
they'll
not
be
offended
friendlies
by the
in the
fact that
blast
Zach
zone,
killed
so-
the character. Like, it's
Involves
not
the
that-
goddamn drone.
Yeah, he's a big character in
Stand
the
down as an
comics,
order.
but it's not
Python,
Let's
like
move.
it really mattered as much to the story.
I just don't see why the world is over because one character got killed. You know, I understand it's Jimmy Olsen, but again, he's never tried to remake the old ones. Jimmy was never going to be a huge fixture in this. I just don't get why it matters. But I don't know.
You know what I think is weird? That guy that works for the CIA with the horses, like, he feels like important, but he never shows up again, so I don't know if he was supposed to show up in Justice League or something.
I think a lot of it is just a really good ability to create character in this. Like, in terms of screenplay, in terms of Zach's direction, in terms of character. He's a very, very forceful figure because he's the leader of his team, and he's highly trained, and it shows. And so you're right, he feels really important, you know, but in the end, he's fairly negligible, but he's kind of the audience stand-in in terms of this is wrong, and why are you sending in drones to blow up when there's a civilian in there? Whoa, you know, and so we identify with him.
Well, and one thing I got to bring up too, like when people complained about the Ultimate Edition being rated R. It wasn't
That
even
is
rated
so old western right there. That shot is awesome.
I know. We're slipping off the
You go, buddy.
One thing I gotta say, like, this whole sequence is why the movie is rated R. Like, the
Yes.
burning of the dead bodies, you know,
Yes.
the blood,
And
all
this
that.
is why they had to cut it in the theatrical version, which then led to confusion, which was just amazing because it wasn't that hard to figure out. But I agree. Like, they couldn't show them burning bodies.
3, 2, 1.
You know, it's interesting. Like a lot of people say, like Superman should have gotten involved here, but if you see the Ultimate Edition, like, or even just in universe, like, the U.S. does this all the time. They fly drones over villages and they bomb the place, and then innocent people get killed. So him going in there like that, he saved everybody from that bomb.
Exactly. He's still the icon for actual good, you know, when the government even is corrupt and not pulling moves that they should be pulling. But somehow he's not hopeful and inspirational because he doesn't smile.
And the people, you know, the people who are just determined that he killed that guy, like no matter what you tell them, they just want to believe that he killed him.
That's because they want to believe it. So you'll never convince them.
But
again, they were never shown.
Yeah. I gotta say too, like, this added moment right here, like, this should have been kept. Like,
yeah, it gives a soul to the suffering and the humanity, and you know,
it
really
wasn't
beautiful.
just a plot device. It was
No. Well, and it kind of gives you an idea of what a big deal this is. Why they're suddenly having an inquisition and a hearing and talking about Superman, and you know they want to talk to him and what's going on, and it really sets up for this is a big deal.
And even Lois trying to help out as much as she can.
Always, because she's awesome.
Oh my god, shoot.
God, she's such an amazing Lois Lane.
I miss this Lois, and I miss Amy, and I'm a little bit worried that she's kind of done, and I don't blame her. I don't blame her at all.
Like the sky cracked open. He came down. Then came fire. Even worse came after.
I love how Zach, like, sorry.
Okay, good.
I love how Zach, like, Zach, like, literally had an OC written just for Holly Hunter.
The world has been so caught up with what Superman can do.
She's
No one is
an amazing actress. Have you ever seen The Big Sick that came out last year?
Let the record show that this committee holds him responsible.
He'll
Oh,
never
but
answer to you.
no, she
She was so good in that movie. It was...
To God.
She may not have wanted to do more, but I think it's a significant loss to lose someone like June Finch because she's such a that's such a typical character to have in the Superman franchise, and to sort of have like someone like her would be really powerful in terms of future stories. Being able to use her as sort of like you know, another facet of our government and represent that as far as like Swanwick does the government in a military capacity.
Totally agree, but I will say in terms of this story, it makes complete sense. She was the voice of reason, and that voice needed to be silenced for the world to really turn against Superman.
I mean, I get it, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mourn her loss because she's awesome.
She's seriously an amazing, amazing character.
I love all the visuals Zach does, just naturally. I mean, you don't have to show bats coming out of the chimney, but yeah, you do. It's Batman, you know. It's so comic book-like. I really can't get over it.
I just think what's interesting about this is the different way that fans receive it, because I think that so many people watched this scene and thought, oh yeah, that's like what Batman's like. And that just scares the shit out of me, to be totally honest. Like, that just really frightens me on a basic level about like how these people see Batman, because like this isn't him to me. Like, this is, you know, I mean, the people who are being trafficked here in this scene are more afraid of him than the criminals are. Like, that's
Exactly.
supposed to make a statement. That's supposed to upset you.
Yeah, there's
And
supposed to be
there's
something
some
wrong
sort
with
of
that.
loss of humanity in our fandom. We can look at this scene and be like, yeah, that's Batman. He's like hardcore, and it's really important that he just scare the shit out of everybody. Like, not ideally.
Agreed. Totally agreed, Danielle. And unfortunately, it's not just loss of humanity in a fandom. We have kind of a loss of humanity across society right now.
Yep. Isn't that
Oh, I love this, though. It's so creepy. It's so suspenseful. It's the first time it's like you're kind of afraid to breathe, you know? And you know who's up there, but it's still like, he did a really good job creating the suspenseful atmosphere.
And it feels like a horror movie at this point, really. And that's
Yes.
how Batman is supposed to be like portrayed in this universe. He's not supposed to be this like guy who's making jokes all the time. He's supposed to be this terrifying creature of the night. That's
exactly.
That's what he is.
Great would it be if this had continued and we had just got a complete Batman movie that was just like basically in the horror genre. Like, that would have just made me shit my pants. Like, I would not have been calm for any part of that. That would have been so cool. And you don't even have to have Batman as the horror element. You could have any of his rogues gallery as the horror element. Because when you actually think about them in an interesting way, every single one of them are freaking terrifying.
Yes.
To be honest, even though Scarecrow has already been the main bad guy in a Batman film, I really want him to be bad guy again because I love him.
I love Scarecrow.
I'd love to see him be a bad guy in a Zack directed film. That would be an amazing thing. But even right then, I mean, the cop sees him. The cop knows who he is, but on first sight, he looks so not human and so terrifying, you know, that he just starts shooting. He just starts shooting at somebody he knows is helping the police, you know, like, this should tell you something, you know. It's not, oh, hey, Batman, you know, never met you before. Holy crap, oh my gosh, shoot it, ah, jeez, you know.
I love we can already see that she's still bothered by the whole incident, and it's not
yes,
just like oh, well, I'm home and nothing happened.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. And these are the things that we miss in Justice League. They move so quickly from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, like they do in a typical blockbuster, that you lose all the moments in between of how people feel about what's going on and how it's affected them. That has always bugged me. And I was just astounded to get this kind of stuff in Zack's films. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. And apparently nobody else appreciated it. Somebody else pointed out that she holds out the bullet and it focuses on the bullet, and then the camera reverts back to her face, and you can clearly see her looking at the bullet, and then it focuses on her head. She's thinking, and the camera perfectly depicts that moment. And I think people like that without even realizing it.
Yep. What a sweetheart. What relationship goals.
Oh, I know, but he's such a threat. We should destroy him, you know.
I love how our first look at
I just
Clark
like see
Kent
him and I'm like, I want one.
I would.
I would just say, I love how our first look at Clark Kent is him just coming home with flowers for his woman. Like,
I didn't kill those men, if that's what they think.
I mean, this is who he is. Like, the thing is that, like, what people can't accept about this situation is that Superman is a romantic hero, and romance is a huge part of his themes. Like, romance is a huge part of his story. Without that, you're really dealing with someone who's kind of a projection of what other people who have sort of stolen this story want him to be. And this is getting back to the core of who he is, and who he is a dude who just really likes a girl. I mean, like, I've been reading a lot of Jerry and Joe lately, and like that's what it's about. It's about some dude who just really likes a girl, and it's heartwarming. And this scene is absolutely on tone. Like I would have, this should have been like the the way that we, you know, decided how to do Man of Steel 2.
I know some people are bothered by the fact that he's like getting water all over the floor and it's a hardwood floor and all this stuff. I'm like, God, for sake, like let the guy be romantic for a second. God,
Yeah, at this point.
They're
This is
trying
really,
to
really
depict
petty.
that
This is
spontaneous
nitpicking.
romance, and you're foaming about water on the floor. I admit, in real life, I'd be like, "Oh Lord, the floor," you know. But it's a movie, and they're trying to show us spontaneous romance.
They're grasping
Make
at
it through the
straws.
floor.
They're doing.
You know what's terrible? They have to cut from that to Bruce, and I'm like, I don't want to see Bruce right now.
Getting slow in your old age, huh?
Comes to us all, Master Wayne.
No, that
Jeremy Irons as
vest.
Alfred.
Like I can continue.
I love his little leather suspenders.
And I love Alfred's style in these movies. Like that's the
Yeah.
one thing I'm glad like to see from like because like Michael Caine was fine, but I think like Jeremy Irons brought like a certain sense of style to the movie that I think was like it adds to it in a really subtle way.
Yes.
Well, I think in a way, like it's really interesting because it gives him so much agency. Like, we have in a lot of other interpretations him dressing like as a butler and doing butlery things, and that just becomes part of his character. And in this interpretation, he's a complete person, and that's reflected in his style choices. It's reflected in his dialogue choices. It's reflected in the fact that like he gets back and like Bruce gets back to the cave and he's not like waiting with a tray. He's like doing stuff because he's busy and he's part of this mission too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's his own
totally
person,
agree.
you know.
Yeah.
For
Well, and
once.
he's constantly tinkering
Yeah.
and messing with things and doing tech for Bruce, stuff like that. That's half of his butlering duties. And I don't know. It might be just a vague memory, but I swear I remember like Alfred dressed up as a butler being like, "Oh, and here's your such and such, sir," and it's like you've never seen him actually work on it or do anything with it, and there he is in his white gloved, you know, figure handing over awesome tech for Batman to use, and it doesn't really compute. It doesn't quite make sense, and so yeah, it just this one is so much better. He is a complete and total person, and in a lot of ways, he's more than just butler. As always, he's father figure, confidant. Number 2 in command, you know, support. Oh, the judgment on his face. Wowzers. I can't believe people didn't get that this was Alfred going, dude, you are over the line.
He handles it. It's just
the
so
best
fatherly,
character in the
and it's just
movie.
so-
Don't believe it? My father named the company after himself. He was the Lex in front of the
Like he spends all this time just being like, I'm going to quietly disapprove of this until you come to your senses.
Yep.
And I think
judge
that's
you,
such a
but
cool
I
call.
understand you have your own
because, like,
agency, but I judge you, sir. You know, this is not
hey,
where
you're
supposed
off
to
your
be.
nut. I'm gonna leave now.
You know, Dad was born in East Germany. He grew up eating stale crackers.
Okay, do you think it means anything that Lex is wearing an ape t-shirt or a monkey t-shirt?
So,
oh my gosh, he's sitting on a TNT box and he's ready to push the lever. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Little souvenir from the Kryptonian world engine.
What's a rock have to do with homeland security?
Homeland security? I don't know, ma'am. Planetary security.
The amounts of complaining of this character, but I truly love everything that Jesse Eisenberg has injected into this character. I love all of his, I don't know, his speech pattern, all his little fiddliness, his complete and total youth in the way he dresses and talks and semi-mocks, and I don't know, it's just, he's a fascinating character. Way better than any power business mogul old guy, you know?
Among the fishes, a whale. Lying at the bottom of the Indian Ocean. Emerald City. Beautiful. Now, Rocky is radioactive, but what he needs from you is an import license.
And why would we want to weaponize this material?
As a deterrent, a silver bullet to keep in reserve to use against the Kryptonians, so the day does not come, madame, when your children are waving daisies at a reviewing stand.
Last I looked, the only one of those flying around up here was Superman.
Yes, Superman. Yeah, but there are more of them.
The metahuman thesis.
Yes, the metahuman thesis. More likely than not, these exceptional beings live among us. It's the basis of our myths. Gods among men upon our...
Hey guys, do you think that Lex killed his dad in this universe?
You don't have to use a sword.
Possible.
I think it's entirely possible.
Yeah.
Well then, we don't have to depend upon a guy.
Either that or he had that horrible
I kind of
relationship
like to-
that abused children have with their parents where they hate them but also still crave their affection and never got it, and then he died, which is why he's the way he is. I don't know. Either one is completely believable.
Yes.
What's your wish list?
Access to the wreck of the crashed Kryptonian ship.
Done.
See, and
Yeah,
again,
this,
the
like when
camera
I was
angles.
watching the movie in the theater for the first time, and like this scene happened, like Lex's first scene, I was just like immediately like so impressed because he's just such a snake.
Yeah. No, I love his musical motif, right? Because it's like the reverse of the Superman one.
Yep.
If the Superman one
His
is
music is so
1-5,
perfect.
then like the Lex one goes down by 5. It's just
This
music
is
nut
so
in
awesome.
me is
Oh, and
welling
you
up.
notice the mist and the steam in the tunnels. How he walks through it is very like how Bruce entered into the smoke and debris after the building came down, and they're both in a very similar place.
The complete remains of dead aliens.
Oh gosh, and look how the camera is like angled down at Lex, but as you continue to watch, it comes up and levels, and then it's actually inverted. Like you can see he gets power over the conversation and the control by the time it's over. Oh gosh, you guys, I love this movie.
Every single time I watch one of these movies, I just am so struck once again by how completely Snyder trusts his actors.
Yes.
Like I was just rewatching the Donner cut of Superman 1 and just thinking like, just like give your actors a second, bro. Like I get that you think that wide sweeping landscapes are beautiful, but like I'd really like to see what the actors are doing right now. And I think that impulse was something that isn't natural to me. It's something that happened to me as a result of watching these films and seeing how gorgeous it could be when you just let actors do their job and just trust them. And there's so much faith placed in them in these films.
Yes, totally agree. And who was that? Somebody was quoted just recently, and they were talking about working with Zach, and they said he's open to anybody's ideas. They'll tell him, very rarely does he say no. He'll say, let's try it and see what happens. And they'll go from there, and then he'll decide whether to keep it or not. But he's very, very open to input from the people he works with, which really, to me, is a hallmark of somebody very secure in himself and willing to collaborate to get the best thing instead of, no, it's my way, I'm the director, I'm the power guy, and you'll do it the way I say. There's a huge difference.
Yes, and I think it comes back to just filmmaking as a collaboration, which I continually harp on. But it is the best form of the of the art. Like without collaboration, we really lose a lot of things.
Yes.
And I mean, like Zach's already commented on it. Like this idea of filmmaking by committee and this idea of sort of just like pulling the audience takes all the power away from artists. And one of the beautiful things about this film is that it's clearly being made by artists. It's clearly a collaboration between like hundreds of artists. And that's what is going to make it a movie that stands the test of time.
Completely agree. I love this whole scene. The statue. They kept trying to do statue over and over, and Zach's like, no, like this. And he like demonstrates like this. But it's perfect, and you can see there's a reason for it. I don't know. Everything about this is so awesome.
Can I also say, like, I feel like Perry White's presence was severely missed in Justice League.
Are you guys watching this?
Yes, thank you. I noticed that too, and it really bothered me.
And one other thing that bothered me too is that, like, wherever Lois was clearly not the Daily Planet. It didn't look anything like these sets from the previous movies at all. Like it
Yeah.
just felt like some random building, and then
It felt like a room in the back of the set that they
Like,
just
where
slapped a
was
couple
the set?
cubicles on and said, "This is the Daily Planet," and it didn't really seem to have a set in the reshoots.
End
So
of
it,
love affair with
yeah,
Man in the Sky.
it was missing so many things.
Okay. Somebody pointed out on Tumblr that like that scene with Wally when he's in his house and like he's got the newspaper clippings around. One of the headlines said Superman shifts tectonic plate to stop devastating earthquake, and I'm like, we didn't get to see that. Like, I feel so cheated.
Well, I think that was
it must have been so emotional.
I think that was supposed to allude to what happened in Superman 1, because that's exactly what
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still.
But at the same time, it would have been cool to see. But also at the same time, like we've seen that in other films, and I don't know. This journey for Superman, I've never seen, and I love it.
She's been gone. What you do, officer?
I love watching him be an investigative reporter. That makes me so happy.
A young lady living here?
Not insignificant.
This guy is so dramatic.
The scene of him doing this, like every single scene of him literally Clark Kenting, like actually what Clark Kent does, actually what Clark Kent is for, cut from the theatrical cut, like you know that 80% of people didn't give the extended edition a shot. So basically, what we have is a bunch of people who are going to remember the theatrical cut forever, and that's on Warner Brothers. Like,
yeah, it is.
I think that's why a lot of people like said after watching this, they were like, Zack didn't want to make a Superman movie, he wanted to make a Batman movie. And it's like, he did want to make a Superman movie, it's just that Warner Brothers wanted things to be cut, and Clark ended up on the cutting room floor, which doesn't make sense to me personally, because the movie is about him, and it's like, you know.
that's the thing, is that what we can understand from this film, from the way that it made it into theaters, is that Warner Brothers did want to make a Batman movie, and they would have axed Superman earlier if they'd had the creative opportunity. And that's what's really annoying about it, is that like they have hamstrung this. They've hamstrung this franchise over and over and over again, and then wonder why they can't make a good Superman movie. It's like, because like you just think that we shouldn't. And that's the entire problem. You don't understand the property you have, you don't understand why it's profitable, and you don't necessarily want to make one because Superman isn't interesting to you. Oh well, like, then stop complaining about it. Like, we all understand why this isn't working, and it's because you guys don't want to make this film.
It's frustrating to me that they have hamstrung this franchise over and over again, but then turn around and place the blame on like director choices and things like that. It's like you guys are the ones screwing this over.
10 seasons. Like, come on.
It's called a bullet. You shoot people with them.
Recovered from the scenes of firefight in the desert.
I love he says that.
So who gave
Harry is like the dad of Lois. He's like Lois's dad, and Alfred is Bruce's dad, and both of them are sassy.
Yup, I love it.
Fly to DC tonight, couple of days there.
Go. Coach, no extra legroom.
Economy plus.
Coach! So, why didn't you tell me? You're digging up snakes, Lo.
I love that.
It's kind of dangerous.
That is why I didn't tell you.
The boyfriend
Lane, don't
lead.
you have a plane to catch? Benefit for the Library of Metropolis. Someone on the committee.
That exchange is so underrated and so sexy. Like, I don't understand. I don't get it.
Him just in his
They're
little
beautiful,
business
and I could
suit with
take like
his
3
glasses
more
on.
hours of them just hanging around the office.
Agreed.
Fuck that.
Little bourbon before
Give
lunch?
me an entire
My
novel of
driver's
this
outside,
Clark and Lois.
No bourbon?
Yep.
Do
Yep.
it.
Like yourself?
But only directed by Zach, because he actually gets it and ships them.
My dad always said that Kentucky Mash was the secret to health.
this was his room, I kept it just the same. Maybe one day Dad'll come back if I just keep everything the same. That is the magical thinking of orphan boys.
I'm blocking the
Eisenberg is such a freaking gift to this, and I think that this is probably the best scene as far as like exchanges
Right here, we're like,
between
crap.
actors.
There's the danger.
But like, one of the best things is like the looks that we get that none of the other characters get to see, like the stuff that we're privy to that other characters don't see, as far as expressions that he makes and how conscious he is of when he's giving those looks to the camera or giving those looks to a different character. Like the veneer sort of like slipping up and down is just gorgeous. And everybody deserves so much more credit for this film, but like Eisenberg especially just got trashed. And if I don't know, if I can't believe that he's willing to continually come back to this role, because he's totally underappreciated.
Yeah, he is. He's so awesome.
Loves it.
Even just like right there when he's tapping the desk, though, that is such an immature thing to do. I mean, it's awesome because it's just that. Does this bother you? Does this bother you? Is it irritating? Is it annoying? Not touching, can't get mad, and then she tucks his hand and stops him. And it's really cool because he's unsettling in every way. He's not really somebody that they know how to handle or control.
Not only that, but he's pushing her boundaries by doing that tapping on the desk. And then is 80% more upset by her interrupting his tapping than anything that he does in the entire scene. Like she's totally unruffled, and then she actually initiates contact with him, and he absolutely has never been so uncomfortable in the entire film. Like it's the moment of him just being like disquieted, and I really felt like that's the point at which he was like, there's no way I could get my power back but to destroy this person.
Yes. Oh, and this scene is just so well lit and colored. It's almost black and white. It's the coolest dang thing.
Did you guys know that the painting on Lex's wall is like original? Like it's not a real painting. Like it was made for this.
I think I did know that, but it is based off of a couple other ones that exist. So I'm sure they were the inspiration. This one, I totally would take that and slap it on my wall, though. I would. Can I say, it's always occurred to me, too, that the only faceless woman we get in this entire film, where all people want to whine about Zach being a misogynist, is this one.
I know.
And she's meant to be, because she's just a long line of drugs and alcohol that Bruce uses to keep his emotions under control, Everybody else has a name, a personality, and a character.
Oh, I hope the next generation of Waynes won't inherit an empty wine cellar. No, there's likely to be a next generation.
I really want a Super Sons movie.
Oh yes, give that to me now.
Sorry.
Give it to me.
Every call from the Russians' phone. 2 mentions of business with the white Portuguese, and it's continually transmitting blacked out data to the personal residence of Alexander Luthor.
I just love that we establish Bruce as a playboy in a certain way that actually makes it seem like a self-destructive cycle instead of something to be glorified. And I think that's just another thing that sort of flies in the face of the public perception of Batman and the public idea of what he's supposed to be.
Yeah, like
this
it's
idea that like he's definitely having these one night stands, he's definitely sleeping around, but it's like a habit that's hurting him.
Yes, it's not a good
and
thing.
we don't see that unless the character is female.
Yep. We will never get this caliber of acting from Ben again. In terms of Batman, I'm so sad.
Any feelings, like just like taking.
I know
him from
they're
that
just
to that.
bursting out of him.
Just,
You know.
I mean, like that's the thing is that like we have all these like like negative feelings or feelings too, and they're feelings that these characters have been denied for a really long time because that overwhelming need for them to be hypermasculine paragons of manliness.
Yep.
Now my question for you guys is, since the future of Ben Affleck's Batman in these movies is still unsure, how do you guys feel about like the lack of like focus on the fact that he's lost to Robin? Like the only thing we've gotten so far is just the one shot. Like, does that bother you guys at all?
You must be new to the Let Them Be Case.
I mean, as a huge fan of
It doesn't
any
bother
Bruce Wayne.
like, I don't know.
Like, not it doesn't necessarily bother me, but
Mr. Lex Luthor.
Now knowing like the direction of DCEU is really uncertain at this point. Like, it sucks because like that's something that's deeply affected Bruce, and that's part of the reason why he is where he is in this movie. But it's
open bar.
Again, it's as a fan, I just would like that story to at least be somewhat wrapped up.
Yeah.
The word philanthropist comes from the Greek.
Thing is, I don't trust Warner Brothers anymore, so I'm just like.
Thank you. I want to see it, but I'd want to see it done by the right person in the right way, and I don't think I'll ever get that. So now it's like, don't touch that, you'll sell it. You know.
Yeah.
I think if
people
anything,
don't do anything at all, then do it and mess it up.
I think if anything, we might have introduced the whole Jason thing earlier because I think that it explains, I think even more than the Black Zero event, it explains more what's happening in terms of Bruce a lot more completely. And I think if we would have got like, just a little bit more of that a little bit earlier, we would have been like, oh, two things happened in this time period. And those are the things that led to what we're looking at now.
Yeah, I mean, like, it wasn't 100% necessary for this story because, like, as fans, like, we get it, but maybe at least like a mention of the fact that or like, because some fans were theorizing like, in Justice League, like Barry would have gone up to the receiver and like, oh, what's that? And Bruce would have been like,
The
a
bathroom
reminder,
was down here.
or something like that,
That last
It's
martini.
like some sort of acknowledgement of it, and now I feel like it's kind of.
And Spring's
I
upstairs.
fear this never gonna be brought up
I'm
again.
okay. I like those shoes.
Warner Brothers, best way, we will never see another freaking Robin again. Anywhere near Bruce because that's been the status quo. And that sucks because it's the exact opposite of what I think most really hardcore diehard fans want.
Yeah.
And I am. No.
Yep.
No. What am I?
Also, like,
Did you guys like notice when? Sorry.
The bittersweet pain among men is having knowledge.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice when Lex walks past Clark and Clark sees him for the first time? I can't define the look that he gives him, but it looks like almost like an in love look, even though I know that that's not what it is, and I can't figure it out. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Wait, which one?
Mr. Wayne.
Like when Lex walks by Clark to go up to the stage, and Clark is looking at him with this tender expression, and I'm like, why are you looking at him like that?
Oh boy.
What's your position?
I don't know. Bring on the speculation.
Daily Planet. Wait, do I own this one? Or is that the other guy?
Civil liberties.
Like, I would say that it's a curious look, but it just looks too tender. I can't figure it out.
It might be that he's pleased because his plan is working and he showed up because we know he's the one that sent over the request for Clark Kent to cover it.
Think they're above the laws.
So it's basically like, oh yes, I've just moved into the chess piece and aha, everything's going according to plan. I don't know. It's kind of hard to interpret.
About an alien who, if he wanted to, could burn the whole place down. There wouldn't be a damn thing we could do to stop it.
Oh boy.
I just miss having Bruce say terrible shit like this and still loving him. Like, that's what I miss. I miss, like, being able to, like, watch this and be like, okay, well, there's a lot happening with Bruce right now, so we're just gonna be really patient with him, you know, and just sort of be like, I don't know, like, being really, like, enamored with the bitchiness, instead of just being like, okay, now you're just being an asshole. Why?
I most of the time I don't mind his assholeness, but there was this one, I don't know, like in Justice League Unlimited, there like I think it was like season 2 episode 1 or something, and he said the rudest thing to Clark, and I wanted to punch him in the face, and I was like, who is gonna let him get away with this? Nobody is gonna say anything to him, and nobody said anything, and I'm like, you can't let him talk to you like this. Are you kidding me? Like, he's just really frustrating sometimes.
I crack that open. I think Unlimited really hates Superman, but you know, that's a conversation for a different day because I have a lot of opinions on Justice League.
I know, we can take up the rest of the movie with that.
Everything in that exchange is just, I don't know, like there's something about the tone of that exchange that just makes me feel sorry for Bruce. Maybe it's just because he's the only person in the room who doesn't understand what's actually happening, and it's kind of pathetic. But I find it so much easier to like forgive him his bitchiness. And in Justice League, it was like everything he said, I was like, why are you just a mean guy? Like, why are you
exactly? Why are you just being an
such
abrasive
just a
douche?
straight
Oh
up
wait, that's
dick for
because
no
that's how an abrasive douche writes an abrasive douche. Gotcha. You know, yeah, I hear you. And in this one, I think a lot of it was like, I don't know, you see his powerlessness and how that bothers him, and how he just really has no faith in Superman or humanity, or probably even himself at this point. And he's just, you're right, I just feel bad for him. It's like, dude, you're in a dark place, you know? This is not good.
I didn't notice his smile until, like, I don't know, I saw a gift set or something. Like a year after I saw the movie, I just saw like a gift set, and I was like, oh, look, he's smiling.
Yep.
And
it's all when he spots her mother. And it's just so beautiful.
Because he doesn't want to be
Gosh
worshipped.
dang it. I love this whole everything.
I think this is my favorite, one of my favorite moments from the film.
As a population on this planet,
They showed this tiny clip in one of the trailers or something before the film, and I was like, what the frick is that? I gotta see this movie.
And when the savior character actually comes to Earth.
Okay, take note. That guy was Vic Mondi, says documentary filmmaker at the bottom, right? He's the one talking, and then later, even though it's already flip-flopped back between several different people, it's him that says maybe he's just a guy trying to do the right thing. So the filmmaker of the group is the one saying maybe he's just a nice guy trying to do the right thing. I wonder what Zach's trying to say. I just don't know.
In these state-level interventions should give us all pause.
Human beings have
This is my favorite scene in the movie because I just love the discussion.
Down paths that led to huge human atrocities. We have always created icons in our own image. What we've done
makes me feel like I mean, like this is so Star Trek in its approach, where it's like we're literally just going to have a conversation for half of like for this entire scene, and it requires so much patience and so much attention to really just like grapple with this many ideas in a row. And I think that that's going to be very frustrating for audiences automatically because you don't raise the bar. And this movie raises the bar. This movie is like, oh, you have to sit and you have to think about these ideas and you have to grapple with them. The people in this montage are not agreeing with each other. They're not giving you something to believe. They are asking you what you believe, and you have to figure it out. And that is a huge critical thinking skill, and really asks something of audience participation, and really asks you to make a call one way or another. And like even here where June basically declines to answer the question, is just like, well, you know, like says I don't know without saying I don't know. And like that frustration, we're supposed to feel that frustration with Clark. Like we're supposed to look at that and be like, yeah, like
exactly.
This
how can you not look at this guy and be like, oh no, he's great, you know? Then he calls his mom.
As cute as the scene is, I feel bad for her because he just woke her up at like 2 a.m. or whatever time it is.
Yeah.
That's
See,
a
I would,
baby,
except for the
though.
fact that the second she knew it was him, she was like, boom, wide awake. She is a mom. And it was like, oh no, does my boy need me? I don't care what time it is. You know, and
Yeah.
so, yeah, I don't feel bad at all because she's immediately all over it. What do you need? What can I do for you?
I mean, not to get down on Clark, but like, he's clearly been kind of up his own ass all for this entire like period of time. So he's probably not calling much or visiting much.
Agreed.
So it's probably very exciting that she's even hearing from him.
It probably is. And again, it speaks to his true need for conversation right then, that true need to hear and talk to her because he just he's struggling and yeah, you know, he can't wait till morning.
This is what makes you such a good reporter. Stuff like this still shocks you.
Yeah.
Just like the background characters that Zach adds to these movies, like they'll add like a ton, but they still add something to the story that makes it feel a little more real and it has a little more weight to it. It's not just like that there's more going on than just superheroes fighting. That there's so much more to that.
It feels real. Yeah, and I agree with you. It's incredible world building.
They're gonna kill me. Hey, you can't bring me the gem.
You should be thanking the taxpayers in Metropolis for taking in your
The fact that we cut this scene just pisses me off so much because, like, we've already established that like so much of Gotham is about prison reform, and so much of Gotham is like our Batman franchise in reality needs to be about abuse of the criminal justice system. And that was a really great example where clearly we're having a conversation where this man is basically being like, I'm gonna be killed, and the prison guards just being like, well, we obviously don't care.
Just a man.
Yep.
What the fuck do you want?
You know, like, I don't know. People come over talking about the Bat brand thing and saying, okay, but the brand isn't actually killing people. But, like, it doesn't matter if that's an, I don't know, quote-unquote natural killing or not, like, unprompted. Just the fact that Lex is having people get killed. Like, people are getting killed, period. So if Bruce knows that, because he should clearly know that because there are articles about it, and I'm sure that either him or Alfred is, like, reading articles about Batman when things come up. Like, he should know that that's happening, and he needs to make a decision about whether he's going to continue branding, and he made the choice to continue it, so that's on him still.
Yep.
He's absolutely complicit, in my opinion. I think too that we're meant to see this as a function of the brand more than anything. I really do. I think that we're meant to see this as like, people aren't getting upset that he branded people. People are getting upset that he branded people and they know what that means. And that's really messed up. Like, this idea that like he can mark people for death makes him extends his part of the criminal justice system. Basically says like, well, the Bat gets to pass judgment on you. He gets to be the guy who decides what your sentence is, and he can pass the death penalty if he wants to. And that it says something a lot about like the way he's overstepped his power.
You know what balls like yours? You belong here. You source on this tinfoil hat.
When Swanwick like says this to her in the hallway, like about how she messed up, like she went into the desert and it's her responsibility. Like, it's harsh, but it's kind of true, you know.
Superman acted like some rogue combatant to rescue her, and people died. Don't invent a conspiracy theory.
I think she definitely had like temptation waved in her face and didn't question that temptation and didn't really think about it before she did it because it was just such a juicy scoop. It was just such a very unique opportunity. And instead of, saying like, well, why would this happen and why would they choose me? Just barreled into the situation and probably should have thought it through first.
When the planet was founded, it stood for something, Perry. And so could you if it was 1938, but it's not 1938. WPA ain't hiring no more. Apples don't cost a nickel. Not in here, not out there.
This is just so cute and simple that he's literally giving Perry White a lecture on journalism. Like, oh, honey.
Doesn't want us to think of him as
I don't like to say that he's wrong, but sometimes he's wrong.
Everybody's looking from different perspectives.
And I just love the whole like.
Nobody in that conversation is wrong. I just think that they're like Perry's just looking at him like, yeah, dummy, I know. Like, I don't know what to tell you. That's not the world we live in right now.
And can I just say too, like, I know people complain about like the realism or whatever that Zach introduced in these movies, or at least like that Christopher Nolan set up that Zach carried through in the DCEU. But like seeing political figures like Anderson Cooper or Jon Stewart, like all these other people, it makes again the story having to feel a lot more weight to it, and that again is not. And then hearing them talk about him as this like political issue and not like as a person or as a being. I think to me that makes the story so much more interesting. Like, yes, that's why like the use of media in this movie is one of the reasons why I love it, because they're constantly analyzing every single thing Superman does.
Yes.
Everything. And
yes, and it makes it feel so like it's really our world. I totally agree, Nick. Awesome.
We almost sold a 98 on the black market.
Also,
I think the use of media is like a critique of media, which I think is fascinating.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Dude, Brooke is so cringy in this scene. Oh my god. He just loses the conversation on every count. It's just like, oh, stop it, boy.
Should be what happens.
I think that's my favorite, is that he's being his usual suave Bruce Wayne kind of person, and she's like,
it should just be like her just defeating him soundly.
Learning him non-stop over and over. That is the real bang.
No, I didn't. But that you copied as military grade encryption.
You know, I bet with that dress, 9 out of 10 men will let you get away with it.
Shut up!
But you're the thing.
He's so bad.
Her earrings are great though, right?
This is the guy that you think is the hero of this film? Like, honestly?
I know.
Honestly?
Pathetic.
Well, and I do love it because she shows him up in everything. And it really is, it does show him at a disadvantage, and that he's not on the right level that he's supposed to be. He's not on the same level as Batman, or Superman, excuse me. He's not on the same level as Wonder Woman. He's not on their level until the end. And they make a point of it. That and like everything she wears
You guys
harkens
know that
back to her Amazon heritage, and I kind of love that.
You know that sound that like announces Diana, like whenever she like enters a scene or when she like leaves it or whatever?
Yep.
Yeah. It's like this horn sound. That's cool.
It's very exotic, and it perfectly works for her. And immediately brings your attention to, okay, this person is different, and not just. And anybody who knows who she is goes, you know. So.
I just say, like
Granted,
I love
think how
this version of Diana in this
how
movie.
the score really makes these guys epic.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I agree. I'm like, who's that chick? I want her story.
I just think the worst thing that happened because of Justice League, what Justice League ended up being, is that I have to live with this scene as is.
Oh yeah.
And it makes me want to die now. Like I just watch it and I'm just like, oh, this is just
really
going
do
to
think
be
Zack
the
had greater
This is going to
plans
be the
and
entire
bigger
story
plans.
forever now. This is it. This is the whole story we get. Nothing more interesting is going to be done with this scene, and you know that Zack was going to subvert something in this. You knew that there was something more interesting happening than what you see, and we're never going to see it. So we have to accept it at face value, and we just have to accept like crazy Superman and post-apocalyptic Batman the way that they are.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. Like what about the Flash coming back? Nothing. Not.
Even insert that later in the series, it's just going to ignore that it happened.
I know everybody thinks that this action scene is really cool, but I think it's kind of weird a little bit.
It's almost choreographed. It's a little bit slower, and it's weird to me because the warehouse scene is
I just think
superior.
It's significantly,
you know,
less
and so I feel like I don't know if it's like because it's a dream, because it's a vision. You're right. There's something weird about it. It's different. And when I want to watch an action scene, I don't come to this one. I go to the warehouse
feeling of like there are like 80 guys and they decide to attack him one at a time.
Oh my gosh!
That's why I don't like. It's
Sorry,
one thing.
that is still my favorite.
One thing is like you'd say, oh, it's a dream, but it's not a dream. It's an elseworld. This is actually a thing that's happening somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay, I just figured it out though. Part of I think I'm not sure there's anything else beyond it, except that I don't think Zack wanted to show him at his fighting amazing best until the warehouse. So here we get kind of a taste of Batman fighting, and it's like, okay, but then we really get Batman fighting, and holy crap, that warehouse scene is amazing. And never would you want to pull the veil on his awesome fighting until the last moment when it really matters when he is going to save Martha and truly comes to himself. So just in terms of style and like director choice, I think that's got to be part of it. Is he just didn't want to pull the curtain on that too soon.
She was my world, and you took her from me.
So much potential with this.
We could have had some amazing things. See, and I wonder if this would have been Justice League 2.
Plausible?
You know?
Do you guys think it's plausible that Martian Manhunter's behind Flash and he's like projecting the vision into Bruce's mind? Because I really want to believe that.
No, but the papers were flying, so it wasn't his. Like it actually happened. Something happened.
Yep. I firmly believe that would have been Justice League 2 somewhere when Darkseid actually came to meet the Kryptonian, and yeah, it could have been some really awesome stuff, but whatever. Instead, I just prefer to look at that as like one of his greatest nightmares, and Bruce seeing like in Superman or an evil Superman
the thing that
where
any like
he's going. I think it's subconscious trying to
Batman
tell him.
stan would ever say about Bruce Wayne is that the epitome of Batman's character is that he gets the best roasts. Like other characters just like make fun of him, and it's the funniest thing ever. And it's like Zack Snyder gets that exactly. Like think of like everything Alfred ever says to Bruce. Like that is exactly the kind of Batman humor that we stick around for, you know. Not like I don't know what the heck was Justice League, but it's like, you know, more or less in the trailers. That is prime Batman roasting.
Agreed. And then he has to admit, he said no. Yeah, he said no. You know, like that's awesome.
Since the age of 7, you
It's just
The more I
like,
watch
yes,
this
this
movie,
should be
the
the
more
dynamic.
this scene is one of my favorites.
Just Diana roasting Batman nonstop. That is the real dynamic of
White
Justice League.
Portuguese isn't carrying a dirty bomb. What is it carrying?
It's a weapon.
Oh boy, you know, I'm so glad they got Jeremy Irons for the show. Like, just Jeremy Irons, man.
Jeremy Irons.
The first sample big enough
And this scene especially, you know, and you
Yeah.
realize like he's been.
You know, you've got his like English actor vibe, and like that voice, you know, his theater voice delivering that monologue. It's just like, oh.
Just do such a good job, like just sort of bringing us into this dynamic, like, and selling the fact that it has been happening for 20 years, and that it's totally believable that it's been happening for 20 years, and you can feel the history in the room. And it's not just in the script; it's between the actors and how natural they are with each other. And I think that is totally taken for granted. You know, the weird sort of love that is transacted here is non-traditional to the dynamic.
Yes. Yes. Oh, it's awesome too. It's just awesome. Well, the fact that this scene happens directly after the party, him getting the drive, you know, having the nightmare, and then discovering what the White Portuguese is, he's walked straight down to talk to Alfred. That man's been going on very little sleep, and you know, and nightmares, and now it's just pushing him farther.
God, you know, I could watch a version of this movie, like, just seriously.
It's ironic when Bruce is talking about he asks Alfred how many good guys are left, how many stay that way. He's kind of talking about himself, but I don't think he realizes it.
But he was a father.
Oh yeah.
He was that too.
I think there's a lot of reason why that sort of silenced Alfred, because he's like, do you want me to talk about the elephant in the room? Like, decided that we're not talking about it.
Do you want to go
is this
there?
a situation where I'm supposed to bring it up? And he's like, he just like shuts down the conversation. He's like, all right, goodbye. We're not ready to cross this bridge.
Oh, Clark is so beautiful, though. I love him. Talk to me. Help me change it. He so believes in this system. But apparently this is not the Superman everybody knows who believes in the system. Okay.
Oh, I see on Lois's desk this Clark and Lois. Oh, it's so cute.
His heels 3 times goes back to Kansas, I suppose. Son.
I confess that I go to the bathroom during this scene every single time, and I'm not sorry.
Yeah, same.
This car chase is at least 2 minutes too long.
Really? See, I never minded. That's weird. I've never thought about it. I guess it's just, it's like, oh, if it's Batman, they have to have a car chase. I mean, they have to. So this one, at the very least, has some awesome Hans Zimmer soundtrack. And you get to watch the Batmobile be completely and totally indestructible until Superman sticks out his knee, which makes me so happy.
This shot is super cool. The Batmobile basically bouncing off of Superman is super cool. Everything in the middle could not interest me less.
No kidding.
And I don't know, maybe that's just my bias, but like, I watch it and I'm just sort of like, yeah, this is happening.
I just have a good time watching
I like to count how many people he kills in the scene.
I don't bother counting.
Probably the kill count. The kill count scene.
Yeah, that's what I do. I just count.
See, check out the awesome music. That's my man.
I can't believe though. It's just like, okay, so this scene happened. That's cool. better. I guess that's my lot in life. But
it's Batman though. You gotta show off the Batmobile and his prowess at it, and at the same time it's showing his amazing heartlessness.
Theatrical of this cut of this movie, and we cut so many more important scenes in order to include this very expensive stunt work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, it's a
In the
chase scene,
context of
and
that,
it's a
in the
comic book
context of
movie,
the
and I
theatrical
cannot
cut,
see WB being like, yeah, sure, cut the chase scene and keep the character moments. That's cool. They'd be like, heck no, you crazy? You always have to have the chase scene. We need the action. That's what the audience comes for.
I don't know, for me, like, watching this whole chase sequence, like, I know, like, every Batman movie seems to have some sort of chase sequence, whether it's, like, in the Dark Knight trilogy with, like, the Tumbler, or the Batpod, or the Bat, or whatever. Like, this seemed to me, I think what Zach was trying to do, like, even though, Danielle, I don't know if you necessarily love this, but for me, I think this was really sort of introduced, like, how far Batman's willing to go at this point in his life to destroy Superman, and he doesn't care who gets in his way, because, you know, when you're watching this, like, he's, like, literally, like, destroying these cars, killing a bunch of people, just try to get the kryptonite. Like, he's so far gone at this point that, for me, like watching this, it's a really cool chase sequence, but to me, it's just showing how far gone Bruce really is at this point. Like, this isn't about being Batman anymore, this is about him trying to destroy Superman. I think that's the point Zach was trying to make with this whole chase sequence. Like, yes, you wanted to show off all the things that this new Batmobile can do, but you also want to show the audience, like, hey, this isn't the Batman you know and love necessarily, because when you're watching it, it's like, whoa, like, you're not used to seeing Batman killing these people, like, directly. In other movies, he's killed indirectly, and that's something that, like, when people say, oh, Batman never kills, he's killed a lot of people, just, like, not indirectly, and a lot of it's off-screen, or, you know, whatever. But watching this, at least for me, like, I don't know, to me, like, it made me feel uncomfortable, but it made, like, I think you're supposed to feel that way, because it's showing you that, hey, like, Batman shouldn't be doing this, and this is showing, again, how far gone he really is in this whole sequence. And to me, I don't know, I personally really enjoyed this whole sequence, and I think it's really well shot, of course. I think it means more to story-wise than just another chase sequence. I think this is a more meaningful sequence than, like, any of the other chase scenes in the other Batman movies. And then for me too, I love this part coming up with him running into Clark, or trying to avoid running into Clark, and the music building up to it too. I think was really, really cool. God, I love that so much. Like, and then I love the way, even though it's a CGI cape, even though I love the way the cape flows right there. Like, oh, I love that.
I just want that cape, and I want it to move like that all the time.
So it's kind of funny, like, when the car crashes and then, like, the slow-mo of, like, Clark walking towards it, it's like his cape is gloating or something.
Don't go. The bat is dead. Bury it.
Oh, it's so dramatic.
Consider this mercy.
There's something about Superman being threatening that even I'm not sure if I would take all that seriously, just, like, knowing who Clark is.
True.
Clark can't be threatening. He's bad at it. He's not capable of being
it's interesting, the amount of restraint, just even in that. Like, I can't even call that, quote, a threat, you know? Because he could say so many more things about, I could pound you into oblivion, I'll make you a smear on the pavement, you know, but instead it's just, no, you're done now. And that is so Clark, being restrained, and like, I don't want to be a bad guy here, but I don't like what you're doing, so just stop that and then we'll get along fine. Okay, cool. Off I go.
And I gotta say, right here,
We're gonna get another scene.
Like, I just want to say, this is the best Ben looks in the suit right here.
Yeah.
It's like looking at those reshot scenes in Justice League, he just looks so puffy. Like, obviously, you can tell he hadn't been working out for a bit, and they added on a bunch of muscle pads.
Yep. It just sucks to go from caviar to a hot dog, you know?
you watch those scenes and you just know that like whoever shot them didn't really care how those actors were going to look, or didn't care that those actors were going to look good. And that's what's so hurtful to me, is like it takes so much nerve in the first place to put on the bat suit and to be like, yeah, this is my conceit, I am Batman. And to have someone abuse that by, you know, not making sure that those actors look as good as they possibly can is just really, really upsetting to me.
It shows a serious lack of respect.
And also, I just want to take time to like appreciate that Zach was able to bring back Swanwick for moments like this with Lois. Like, you can easily just toss away characters in, you know, a sequel, but the fact that he kept Swanwick around, like especially for moments like this, where he's not just like an easy Superman ally who's Superman's friend and can help him. Like, he's like a real human being, and he's not fully trusting of Superman, even though he knows what Superman did, obviously in Man of Steel. So I just really like this moment right here.
I love how Swanwick is like a secret member of Team Superman.
Yep.
So I urge Superman to come to this hill of the people tomorrow, to see those who have suffered. The world needs to know what happened in that desert, and to know what he stands for. How far will he take his power? Does he act by our will?
I love just seeing all the different character reactions from this. When you see Clark in his internal struggle, just by watching this, and Lois knowing what Clark's going through, I just, I love this. And I love this banter between Martha and Clark. Even though Clark doesn't have to say anything, it's moments like this where I think Zach just gets these characters so right.
I never wanted this world to have you.
I love this so much.
Be their hero, Clark. Be their monument, be their angel. Be anything they need you to be. Or be none of it. You don't know this world. You never did.
I don't believe the amount of flack she got for that line. But it is amazing to me because she is reaffirming his agency, which is something every superhero should have. They need to choose whether or not they're going to take on this responsibility and do this. Yes, they should do it because they can and they want to help, but, you know, it's an active choice and it doesn't come without consequences. You cannot just expect them to trounce right out there, not having any idea what they're in for, or just being so cluelessly stupid that they think everything's going to work out beautifully just because they have superpower. They all have agency. They all need to choose.
I think the most important thing about Superman, thematically speaking, is that he chooses to be Superman every day. That he wakes up every day and makes that choice, and that says something about who Clark Kent is. And we don't necessarily want to like give him a choice. Crazy to me, like it just almost seems like we have to limit his virtue, like put a ceiling on how good of a person he is. If we feel like we want to back him into this corner, that he has to save the world because he's powerful.
Yep. Well, and they just want to take away the part of him that has any kind of three-dimensional thought about it. They just want to force him to be positive and good at all times and never ever be anything different. And that is so unrealistic. It's not even funny.
I happen to like my job.
It doesn't make sense.
The fact that, like,
I saw Superman, but how could they know that he'd show up in an...
is not the only powerful person in his sphere, and all those people are choosing to do nothing. And that people have power and choose to do nothing every single day, and to pretend like those people don't exist so that we can believe in Superman or whatever is disingenuous, and it flies in the face of what Superman represents.
Yes.
Mr. Keefe, Soledad O'Brien, in the moment.
Okay, I know we went past it, but I do love that moment of realization when Lois puts it all together. It's awesome to see her brain work and have her, you know, suddenly, whoa, and put a whole bunch of stuff together. It's nice.
This is what war looks like. I have nothing.
Thomas in the corner behind him.
He is not a hero.
Grace, can you get Greg up here, please? Right now.
Oh, yeah.
An anonymous source can verify everything that...
This will be my favorite Bruce Wayne look forever, though.
Like from 1978 recently. And I thought it was weird, like, how he became Superman in that, because he never made a decision. Like, Jor-El never talked to him about becoming a hero or anything. He just listened to, like, 3 years worth of educational tapes, and then all of a sudden he's Superman, and it's like, but wait, where's the moment of choice? Where's the discussion? Where's the hero's vow or whatever?
Yep. Her parents are alive back home. But the girl's got a conscience. He's been using the committee as his puppet theater.
Senator! Hi, you. Don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you. You know what, Mercy? You go in and make sure no one takes my seat.
So what you been up to?
I'm just here to tell my story. That I was willing to finance a Kryptonian deterrent, but a certain junior senator from Kentucky decided to block it. Yes, the chair of the Committee on Superman is soft on security.
Greg, why hasn't he been getting our checks?
He is, Mr. Wayne. He gets a check from the Victims Fund every month.
Yeah, even like Justice League, they took away his gray wings most of the time in the reshoots because apparently he's not allowed to be that old. But this look right here is just, I think, going to be my favorite Bruce Wayne / Batman look forever because this right here shows his experience. He's earned every one of those gray hairs.
Yep.
And he's been doing this a really long time, you know. It irks me no end that they darkened him up in the reshoots just to make him look slightly younger.
I just don't like reshoot Batman and Justice League at all.
You are going to be on the hot seat in there, Junebug.
I grew up on a farm. I know how to
God, the dialogue in this movie,
Do you know the oldest line in America?
Where would we be without Chris Terrio?
That power can be innocent.
He is so awesome. And I also mourn the serious loss of his script in Justice League because
That was
I know
not
it's
his
supposed to be
script.
so much more than that. And instead we got Joss's crap, and it is not the same.
None of this would have been possible without him.
Yep. Okay, I know this is random, but I just honestly think how pretty she is every single time they show her face. She's got a really beautiful bone structure. Like, you're so beautiful.
That's such a brutal way to die.
Oh gosh, that's just. Ugh.
I love the
I mean,
music
at least
right here.
Batman's not pulling that.
Yeah. I love this so much, right?
Oh, that shot.
And the score, and there's just...
Yep,
like,
score.
people don't want to admit that's how we would react.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody out there with all their dissenting opinions, screaming and shouting. Oh yeah.
Another one came this morning, Mr. Wayne.
I love how he's just like looking straight forward, just like I'm like just get through it.
Yep.
I look weird, but I just have to get to this room.
And I think this is the best and best it'll ever look in terms of the Superman suit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
it's amazing.
His walk down
him
the
in
hall
that
reminds
suit
me of
commands
that scene
such
in Man of
presence
Steel
that
where
everybody's
he let them
immediately drawn
handcuff
to it.
him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like where he just, it's like, you know, he lands on the steps and walks in.
Yep. And that's the thing too. Is like in Man of Steel, he was handcuffed. In this, he's like almost like morally handcuffed, like because he can't really do much.
He's very submissive here. Yep.
Let me say at the outset that I'm grateful to our witness for coming before us today.
I just like this scene especially, but like I just have to stop and marvel every time that like this content is just so storyboarded so intricately and so clearly just
every shot is so
a comic book film on every level of the word. Like when Sin City came out, we gave it a lot of praise for being like comic book, accurate. But we never talk about how Batman versus Superman is a comic book come to life. Like these frames are absolutely comic frames. Like half of these things are just like, if you turned this into a comic book, it would be one of the greatest comic books of all time.
Yes, I completely agree.
Absolutely.
And I think that every single time I watch this film.
Can we?
Yeah, no, I feel like I don't know. I've been absolutely ruined by Zack Snyder because after I've watched his movies, like no other movies really appeal to me that way anymore because there's no other director really, and no other like modern director really like composes and makes every shot like a piece of art.
Yes.
The way Zack really like he puts so much effort into it. You can tell like every shot is lit well, every shot is composed. Okay.
I agree, Jane. I agree. He's ruined me.
I can't. Oh boy.
This was such a. I didn't want to believe that this scene happened when it did. I'm like, no, this
it
has
was
to be like like a.
I was like, are you serious? Did it just happen?
It was so jaw dropping.
It was, and the silence building up to it when Senator Finch is realizing what's going on.
Yep.
God, and Clark's face right here.
Oh.
He can never win.
I know. You broke him. Thanks, Lex.
We get so much of this kind of content, and I know that scene with him helping people afterward was cut, but I just think that we already get like sufficient content to, if you're paying attention to Cavill's performance, which people just
agreed
for whatever reason don't.
Agreed completely. I mean, I hate that scene was cut, but even in the theatrical, before we got the Ultimate, it was like, what are you, nuts? I mean, look how much he cares. So, yeah.
It's a total failure to empathize for whatever reason. Like, this is what's really crazy to me. It's just like, he somehow, by making Superman an allegory for people on the outside, for refugees, for immigrants, making him that allegory has somehow made the audience's relationship to him very similar to that, because I feel like we should be paying attention to Clark. We should be empathizing with Clark, and for whatever reason, we, like, as an audience, as a large scale, we fail to empathize with him. People don't see that bombing scene from first person. They don't look at that and say, wow, Clark's really sad. They look at that and they just watch him have that emotion. And it's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest effect. And I don't really understand it. And I keep trying to get around it and trying to understand, like, you know, like, he is a white guy feeling feelings on a screen. And usually
surely that
works.
should have some weight. Yeah. You're very right. It worries me because about the place we're in our society, that if people are picking up on the immigrant and the outsider perspective, how fast they shut themselves off to him and stop empathizing. That bothers me.
I love that he looks at this and he's like, I love that Alfred just comes in and looks at this and is just like, oh no, something bad happened here.
Oh yeah, and again, you're right, it speaks to their lifetime together.
He knows this just made things worse for Bruce.
Yeah.
He knows exactly what Bruce is going to do now.
Honestly, Alfred is one of the ones I feel for the most when I think about all the intricacies of this plot line, because it's like, oh my gosh, what a horrible thing it must be to watch someone you love go off the rails and be helpless to stop them, to talk sense into them, to help them. You know, you just can only just sit and watch them crash and burn, and that must be one of the most horrible things. That was awesome.
Like, I usually don't get like an action my action yayas or anything, but like that was pretty freaking cool.
It was.
That was probably the coolest Batman crap I've ever seen on film.
He is truly the most Batman to ever Batman.
And I just love how like Lex is like this. Like, he's not surprised at all. This is exactly what he was wanting.
Exactly. He's so happy. Always impresses me how many bullets are on the ground though, and Bruce walked away unscathed. See, and again, they skipped over the action. They could have done a huge action scene with that too, but that's not where the focus is. The focus is on the warehouse fight, because that's when the heart enters.
Yep.
Because he's working to save Martha.
That's exactly what I was gonna say too. I'm glad you beat.
Oh, you win, Nick.
No.
High five.
You guys, look how hot we are. We're so
Oh god, such a beautiful jawline.
Filmed him.
Though the lighting on Amy Adams in this scene, how? What? angel descended from heaven. Like, I don't understand. Like,
I just like
I
how
don't
like
know.
we're like
I'm too gay
experiencing.
for this scene.
I like how we're like experiencing like a redo of Man of Steel in terms of the lighting of Amy Adams.
This shot right after she watches him fly away. Like, I literally ascend to heaven. I can't even like. I may just make a weird noise because it's, oh my god. Just.
Look
I'm
at him,
too
he's hurting
bisexual
and
for this.
broken.
I'm attracted to
I
both.
mean, how can people not empathize with this character?
Okay, there it is.
I feel like
Oh
Amy
my
is
god.
She's
I
Ty,
feel
you're
like
the most
Amy's
beautiful woman
daughter
ever.
who gives her anything she wants.
And you
Who was
tell,
it that
like,
pointed out
go ahead.
somewhere on the internet about how Zod thought of Clark as a monster because he was born naturally, and yet he became the monster as he in Doomsday?
Yeah.
I can't remember where I saw that, but I was like, dude, that is so on point.
Right. Even though I know, like, my problems with Justice League aside, I'm still always gonna love the use of the scout ship in each movie.
I do appreciate that. Well, and that's only there because you're right, it was part of Zach's original vision, and I deeply love that you always come back to the scout ship. Oh.
And that was the one moment in Justice League where Han's score was still there. Literally, the
that
only
must
moment.
have just burned Danny Elfman
This
so
is
bad.
our new cinematic universe. This is how it works. Like,
exactly.
You build things slowly, and you let this sort of prop mastery come through from episode to episode, and this is how it works. Like,
oh yes.
30
It
seconds.
is
Marvel
so
used to know
glorious, and this is what I expected. This is what Justice League should have been and would have been if Zack hadn't been interfered with. It would have been just a continuation of this, and everything would have tied into, flowed to, and connected with everything else in these three movies. I mean, it just.
That's like listening to Danny's score. Like what kind of mindset was he in? He's like, what? It's not. Am I not supposed to use the Avengers film more than any other film, any other theme in the movie? Like the fact that he literally used the Avengers theme in the movie still bothered. Like, why?
Yep.
And what was the theme for Justice League? There was none.
Yep.
Like,
yeah. Okay, I know people get turned on, but at the same time, I'm just more impressed by the symbolism of all the weights holding him down and pulling him down. I find that cool.
I just remember, like, when I saw this movie with my dad, it was like the third or fourth time I had seen it by then, and my dad was like a workout nut, and he watched this and was like, huh, now I got some ideas. I'm like, god damn it, Dad.
Awesome. I call this my Batman exercise routine. So.
And guess what? Not long after, a tire showed up in the backyard of my house.
Awesome. See it again. I find great.
I love how this whole scene is just.
Oh, go ahead.
I love how this whole scene is just aggressively preparing to kill someone.
One thing I can say, by the end of Justice League, it was kind of nice seeing Cyborg kind of like retrofit his body to create the logo on his chest.
Agreed.
Wait, but if he hadn't made that symbol himself yet, how did that symbol come about?
That is one thing that people were like, oh, well, why did Lex just make all these symbols or whatever?
Who cares? It's a comic book movie. Relax. People need to relax.
Well, I mean, at least you can say, like, with Wonder Woman, the logo was kind of already there. With Flash, it was kind of already there because he already had his powers at that point. Aquaman, it was there. You know, Cyborg is the only one whose wasn't.
One thing about the Flash symbol is that, honestly, it kind of has never made sense to me before this live-action Flash, because I've always just been like, he's fast like lightning. But, like, we literally have him surrounded by, like, intense static electricity and sort of like this, like lightning is the first thing you think of when you see Ezra's Flash.
Yep.
So that lightning bolt becomes just more powerful, and it becomes like a more obvious symbol for who he is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Acknowledging presence of genetic material. Analyzing.
Whenever I see this, I always think about how precise it must have been, because you don't notice his arm just perfectly blocks Zod's genitals the entire time, and it's like, how many takes do they have to do till it was properly shielded or whatever?
Well, I mean, I imagine the actual like doll they used that was of his likeness didn't have it, but for obvious reasons they probably still had to cover it, so people weren't like, wait, why is it just like a flat space by his genitals, you know?
He looks like a Barbie doll. What is that?
You know what's funny? Like, I remember, like, I feel like we might have brought this up. I hated, there was one headline that came out a while ago that, like, Michael Shannon was like, oh yeah, I saw Batman v Superman when I was on the plane and I seemed to enjoy it, but I fell asleep on it because I had a long flight. And then all these different, like news sites and all these places were like, oh, Michael Shannon fell asleep watching a movie he was in. Shows how bad it is.
You know,
don't they know that he literally is the sleepiest guy ever? Like, he constantly looks like he's about to pass out.
Well, he also works really hard. I mean, good
and he was on a long flight.
Yeah, people want to find the crap. They'll find the crap. They want to tweak it. They want to show it the way they want to. They will always do that.
Superman was involved in the planning of this attack. I mean, here's an individual who has unlimited power, yet he did nothing to stop a bomber just a few feet away from him. It just doesn't add up.
And I did miss this in the theatrical. I love the common people, the regular people, the everyday people, the kid, all going, what? You know, as their hero is kind of, you know, is brought down in front of them, and they're like, what the heck is this?
Que por 20 americanos no lo vimos.
Do you guys know where he is?
I think it's...
They don't really say.
I don't understand anything about this scene, to be totally honest. Like, getting up to the mountain, I do not understand. And this? Like, what are you talking about? What? I don't...
That means that wherever it is, it's a huge giant mountain that people don't go up of in wintertime. And so if somebody's walking up there, clearly they go, he's suicidal. He's going to go up there and die. But Clark, being Clark, could have just flown there. But instead, he decided to walk and trudge and sludge through the crap, even though the cold doesn't really bother him much. Yeah. He's definitely on a journey. And a lot of it, I think, is just kind of, he needs the time to walk and think.
Do these guys recognize him or not? Because when he walks up, they said, for 20 American, we didn't see you. So then I'm sort of like, oh, well, they see that he's Superman. They've just figured it out because he's not wearing his glasses, and apparently that's magic.
Yeah, but he's got a hat on.
And then if he's Superman, it's really stupid to say he's come here to die because the mountain is unpassable, because, like, it's common knowledge Superman could just fly over the mountain.
I think that's why they never figured out who he was. They just figured he was some random dude come to die, and hey, we'll score $20 off him before he goes. He doesn't need it.
I mean, I guess, but I just don't think they have any leverage for blackmail by being like, hey, like, you know, if we won't tell anyone
you're here. It's not blackmail. It's just if you don't want to be found, you won't tell anybody.
Who are you telling?
You know.
He just got groceries. The wheelchair and the bullet from the desert were made from the same metal. The desert, the hearings, everywhere Superman goes, Luthor wants death. Luthor goes through all of that trouble, creates a bomb out of a wheelchair, and then alters it to reduce the blast. What do you mean? The inside of the chair was lined with lead.
And one thing I didn't realize up until that is that these movies hadn't officially established that Clark can't see through lead.
Yep.
So I was like, oh,
but
yeah,
it's such a known factor that everybody goes, yes, of course.
I love this banter because it's something that is brought up in so many versions of Superman. I know it doesn't make sense, but to me, it's, someone brought this up on Tumblr a while back, is that, like, this is, like, the fortress of solitude of his mind. Like, this is where he's going for guidance right now, and the first person he sees is his father.
Always.
And not Jor-El.
No, the man who raised him.
Specific place, it's just anywhere where there's someone who can be alone.
I can't
They were so quiet about this. I didn't think we'd see Jonathan, so it was quite delightful to get this scene.
Oh, me too. I'm like, is that Kevin Costner?
What?
Just this dialogue is just a reflection of how respectful Snyder is toward the Kents. Nothing about this is cliche. Everything about this is authentic, and we have like this terrible sort of like faux hick dialogue being stuffed into their mouths in Justice League, and it just made me so mad because like. I mean, it doesn't have to sound terrible like that. This is an authentic story, and it tells us something about Jonathan as a character.
Yep. Well, and it's easy to relate and see that even with all of his powers, Superman's struggling with the same things that regular humans do. It's just on a different scale. And in the end, his father's gone through all of this and could give him advice on, I don't have all the answers. But, it just, it's exactly the same. It's the human experience.
Or just because, like, when he's on the phone with his mother and he says, I wish it was simple. And her answer is basically that none of it's simple. It's never simple. Like, I don't care if you're Superman. I don't care if you're Jonathan Kent. It's not simple. Life is complicated. And that answer is so basic and so like base level human, and still just kind of gorgeous to be like, well, like, honey, your struggles are actually not all that special on a certain level. Like, like what you're dealing with right now is kind of just normal.
Yep. But it's heightened in Chris's beautiful dialogue because Joss would have written it like much more crass and in-your-face kind of dialogue that people don't usually say in real life. There's a lot more nuance and beauty in Chris's dialogue.
Well, just the tenderness of the characters with each other, the fact that everybody is just sort of tender and gentle with one another, with the exception of Bruce, who is but even Bruce is like a subtle asshole. Like, he's like, well, I'm going to be a dick to your face, but you're not going to notice it for about 20 seconds. Because you can see it happen in real time on Clark's face, where he's like, hey, wait, are you insulting me?
Yep. But even then, like, here with Alfred, he's more tender with Alfred than anybody else. Alfred is more tender with him than anybody else. Here, Alfred's going, dude, you're going to die. Do you realize this is a suicide mission? And Bruce pretty much says, yeah, I know. But I feel that this is worth it. This is something that is worth dying for. I mean, all of that in there, just these beautiful sentences. I don't know. This is such a masterpiece.
That tenderness isn't necessarily a intrinsical part of the genre, and I think that adding that tenderness to the genre is something beautiful that Snyder did that's going to reverberate for the rest of the genre's existence, as long as
and it's important, and it's part of what I responded to and loved so much, and that's part of why Justice League turned me off so fast, is because there was very little of that. It was all just quippy cliches and one-liners.
Yep.
See, and that's the last tender moment we see, and then immediately he's armored up and very non-tender, extremely. And you get the feeling, especially from Alfred talking later about how he, forgive me for listening in, but like he cut off contact with Alfred.
You guys remember like the first
help himself
trailer, and it was this, but with like Clark in the sky and everything, and like people lost their minds. Oh god,
I lost my mind at every bit of marketing for this movie.
That stuff made me so nervous. Every time any Frank Miller imagery came out, I was like, oh god, we're gonna die. It's over. I'm never gonna have anything I love ever again.
But weren't you so happy to be pleasantly surprised by what Zach was able to do with Miller's material?
I still can't really believe it. Like, I still actually have a hard time understanding what the heck just happened, which is that he took all of Frank Miller's imagery and half of Frank Miller's story, and then just basically was like, I'm going to like substitute all of the crap and all of the racism and all the misogyny and just toss it out and just make this like amazing story that literally has like 10% of the baggage.
Excuse me.
And you guys listen to the song in the background where it's like it's like Frank Sinatra singing "Every Time You Say Goodbye." That's the exact line that he says right before Batman shows up when he has Martha.
Yep.
She's like super calm.
I was just thinking that. Like, it's not like she's not on edge, but she's not a hysterical female, you know, type of thing. She's just like, I don't know, she's just Lois Lane, you know? I'm gonna be on edge and I'm gonna, you know, be prepared, but I'm just gonna go into this with my eyes open and I'm not gonna freak out, you know? This is what she does.
Laying low in the morning. Lola in slacks.
Oh, you're creepy.
Lois Lane. Come see the view.
This little shit.
Now the secret.
Right?
Like, I love him, but I hate him.
I love to hate him, but he's an awesome character. That's such great work.
That's why I
He's
was
just
so
so
happy.
impressed with himself. It's just so repugnant.
But I'm impressed with him, so I have to agree to a certain extent.
That's why, like, I was so happy to see him in that post-credit scene for Justice League. I was like, oh, thank
No,
God. There's
right?
still some remnants of what Zack did.
Yeah, and he was exactly the same. He was just as awesome, just as
You know what
fabulous,
ticked me off?
bald. I was like, oh my gosh, he's perfect. He's perfect.
You were saying, Rebecca?
You know what ticked me off though? Is that Lex was in Justice League and they gave him his moments and we saw it and his whole thing, but they didn't use his song to close out.
Yeah.
They used some other song with violins that wasn't his. And I'm like, you're using a song with violins. Use his. Like, I can't believe this.
That was
It's
like my whole thing
they
with the
did
entire
everything
movie.
they could to disrespect the original vision. It's like they couldn't even let his own theme play. It's ridiculous.
Like, literally the only one that they kind of used was Wonder Woman's, and that was literally it. And even then, it was...
Well, and they did it with all strings. They took all the fangs out of it.
Yeah,
It did not
Tina,
invoke
yeah,
power.
like the electric cellist Tina I can't remember her last name, but she wasn't even there.
Tina
like,
Gao.
Tina Gao, yeah.
Nope. And Danny said it would sound cheesy. And it was like, are you kidding me? Well, you did sound cheesy. It was awful.
So it wasn't cheesy in the last two movies where everyone loved it.
Of evil in the world.
Yeah.
The problem of absolute virtue.
This to
And
me is like
they
peak.
played Krypton, but for like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
It strummed like one time and then it was gone.
Yep.
This whole scene is
Me too.
amazing.
This is like peak Zack Snyder, Chris Terrio dialogue.
Yes, yes.
Clark?
I just love how like Clark is emotional about everything. Like just every single moment of this. Like there are lines in this scene where we could have played it macho. We could have had him be like a stone wall of cool guyness. But instead, like we have him, he gets up there and he says, I'll take you in without breaking you. And that's supposed to be like a cool guy line, but he's so angry when he says it that it takes all the power out of it. That he's mad and then he's confused and then like we never allow him to be like that cool guy walking away from an explosion. He just isn't that guy because that guy isn't Superman.
Yeah.
There was that one moment though when he slammed Doomsday into the building and then that was kind of a cool guy explosion moment.
It did not take much to push him over, actually. Little red notes. Big bang, you let your family die!
After we do that, don't we immediately have him like sort of like panic and go save his girlfriend? Like we have like huge like we always undercut this. We always undercut it by having Superman feel a big feeling, and I think that's really important to the way that Snyder characterizes him, and it's probably dead. So I mean, every single time I talk about any characterization in this film, though, I have this big drop off. That's like, oh well, maybe we'll never see this again. Oh my god.
Justice League was a gut punch, and I don't think I'm ever gonna truly come back from that.
Close.
So they have severely undercut my love for these films, and if they're not gonna be like this, then I don't know how much longer I'll be here. Oh, this picture,
I
man.
know. And this is also peak acting by Henry too.
Oh yes. Oh, both of them. Holy crap, they're amazing.
Punishment for witches. What is that? That's right. Death by fire.
Oh, I love this. Oh, I love that.
Oh, look at that. He brings him to his knees with his mother. That is so Zack Snyder. It's not even funny.
Like they're in different scenes right now because they're having such different emotions, but they're still doing such a good job transactionally acting. But like, there's totally different emotional arcs happening in this.
Yep.
And like that, when he like almost touches him, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
It's totally creepy. Get your hands off my son.
Agreed.
Now the cameras are for the world to see the holes in the holy. Yes, the Almighty comes clean about how dirty he is when it counts. To save Martha, bring me the head of the bat.
Lex just talks in this way that is just so epic.
Would you look at the time? When you came here, you had an hour. Now it's less.
So philosophical and theoretical to him. None of it is real flesh and blood. Everything is about making sure that his worldview is right, even if he has to force it to, which makes it so interesting because Batman sort of echoes that sentiment by saying that the world only makes sense if you force it to. The world only makes sense if you have the power to press your will upon it. And that's exactly what Lex does. Lex is basically saying, you don't fit my world philosophy, therefore you can't exist. And I have to make sure that you fit, that you validate the way that I see the world.
Yep.
Hands over Baldwin is on the scene. Brooke, you're live on here. What do you say?
There's something happening at the ship. Sending massive power surges.
The area, they've created a barricade around this containment center, and we're trying to get a little bit closer here to find out what's going on. It is absolute chaos. You can see that lightning, those surges of electricity, they seem to be getting stronger by the minute.
Daily Planet.
Lois? I have to go to Gotham to convince him to help me. Or he has to die.
I don't believe that Clark could never sneak up on Bruce because Clark is like deadly silent sometimes.
Yeah. I remember when the set photos came out for that scene.
Well, I think a lot of what we end up with is like Clark would never because it's rude. Like we kind of just have this idea that like sort of like maybe Clark can do everything Bruce can do, but it would be very rude to say so, so we'll never find out.
The beginning of their email exchange that would go on.
I don't know. People want to whine about how this was just shoved in and felt out of place, but I feel like it's really in place. I mean, here he is going, dude, I totally, pegged you as something not right. What's going on? And also, here's some other stuff to pique your curiosity. Want to help me? Or maybe, if he knows he's going to die, he just left them for her to be like, all right, pick it up if you want to. I'm out.
I love that even his emails are theatrical. Like, this is the most dramatic email format that he could come up with.
That's so Bruce Wayne.
I think this is the most dramatic email reading ever seen on film.
I think he's trying to impress her with his like theatricality or something.
Oh yes,
absolutely agree.
And even though people got mad about it, I'm glad that they kept Ezra's long hair for this, because that's just, it's nice to have a non-conventional Barry Allen.
Yeah.
Now knowing that he got his armor for Justice League from Atlantis, did he also get like this bit of armor from Atlantis too? Like I'm legit curious.
Nobody knows. Next question. Yeah, he must have. It's just cuffs. It's just gauntlets.
Well, it's the same gauntlets in Justice League.
It is. It's just that, like, it's not full armor, but it's gotta be Atlantean. I mean, what else would it be?
Exactly. Okay, one thing I gotta say, there were some people who literally called this scene pathetic. How? Why? Like,
how do you look at that and not be moved, or at least feel a little bit for one of them or both of them?
the first look at the mother box.
Yeah.
Like, how did he even like
activated
use it
before Superman died? Because this is it activating right now. So what are you talking about?
This is why we need a cyborg movie.
Well, I think
how did the mother box, like, did he program it to latch on to Victor, or did it just do it of its own accord?
I think it did it of its own accord.
That's what I always thought. But then they were talking about his dad using it as a last resort, but at the same time, like, I agree. I don't think he knows what to do with it. And so it's just, it seems like it was almost an opportunity, and the box took it.
It's not her story.
It's not like Perry just trusts her.
Jenny, get her a chopper to Gotham.
Perry is the best.
But she's his daughter.
Yep.
I deeply missed him in Justice League.
To me, that's why, like, all those scenes, those weren't the Daily Planet. Perry wasn't there, Jenny wasn't there, it was completely different. Like, she got a random new desk along a bunch of other desks. It was just... You know, I gotta say, I mean, I think Katie and I had this conversation, we did our commentary the first time around, is that this is not, like, a glamorous fight. It's tough for me to watch, honestly.
Yeah. And it's not meant to be. Can you imagine what kind of nasty fight it would have been if like Joss or something? Ugh. But this was not supposed to be something that
To be honest, I know a lot of fans have... To be honest, I know a lot of fans have, like, made their peace with this scene as it is. But personally, for me, I just have to, like, turn my brain off because it still doesn't really make sense to me. But I'm fine with that because I love the rest of the movie.
See, for me, it's not that necessarily doesn't make sense. It's a brutal fight. It's like it's one of the few times like a fight in a comic book movie like made me not want to watch it. Not because it was bad, but because it's such a brutal and real and gritty fight that's supposed to make you feel at least somewhat. You're supposed to feel something because of it. It's not just like, oh yay, Batman and Superman trying to kill each other. Like it's
exactly. And you're supposed to feel something, and you're supposed to feel for Superman. I mean, he's holding back the entire time, and Batman is not. And he's actually really enjoying this guy's pain that's finding him on the ground, and that's kind of creepy. And we're all going through, that's not right, leave my kid alone. And yeah, it is not supposed to create happy, excited, woohoo, boxing match feelings. In the end, you're supposed to be kind of sad that these people should be working together or against each other. So when they get together, you're like, yeah!
How do we approach the emotional impact that needs to happen? And the emotional impact that needs to happen is that you should be upset and that it should be terrible to watch and that you should be wishing this isn't happening.
Yep. Completely agree.
He's like so awesome when he does that.
Also the least tactical person in the entire world.
Yeah.
He has no defense. When you watch Man of Steel as well, Clark has no defense. He sucks at defense, period.
I mean, honestly, it's perfect. It really is, because, like, why would you have any kind of defense? Why would you be good at blocking blows if blows never hurt you before? Like, that's what's really interesting about all of this, is that, like they really tailor this to his skill set. They're really like, what would Superman learn in a fight? And mostly he would learn to hit people really hard and take a lot of punches, because he can take a lot of punches.
Exactly. So when he becomes powerless, like here, where he's actually feeling the punches, he doesn't really have any kind of fighting capability. He's never had to. Which is part of why we're all going, dude, stop, leave him alone, he's defenseless, you know, it just, yeah, it doesn't create great feelings in you to watch it. Oh, especially that face right there. Can I hug my Clark now? And again, everybody's like, well, that's not my Batman. Of course it's not your Batman, he's way over the line here, man. Nobody's supposed to be like, yay, good job, Batman, that's totally my hero. And if you are, there's something wrong with you.
I know a lot of people were like,
tear out his liver.
I know a lot of people were like, why doesn't Bruce just like stab him or snap his neck or something? It's because Bruce is theatrical and he never does anything the easy way. He needs to drag it out and feel like a badass for doing it.
No, I agree. I think he really wants to teach him a lesson.
Yeah.
And I think like that's literally what's happening in this scene, is he's like, I'm gonna soften you up so that, you know, you're in a bad enough shape so that I can tell you what I think. This is still the best part of the entire fight.
Oh, I completely agree.
I love that his hands go up like, oh, well, I didn't mean it.
Wait a minute, I didn't think this.
Time out.
And I agree. Like, again, like, Bruce's entire thing is that he takes out his anger and his rage.
Do you guys see the behind the scenes where like Ben is like bonking Henry on the head with the plastic thing?
Yeah,
it's
with
so
the same,
adorable.
Yeah.
It's weird to think that they had so much fun making this scene, because it's not fun to watch.
I think, honestly, end scene filming with these two would be fun, because they get along very well.
They do. And that's another thing that makes their dynamic so great to me. Even in like one of the final scenes of Justice League, I know the one that we were kind of like torn on who shot it, but the one at the Kent farm, like that to me, like at least partially felt like the Clark and Bruce that I felt at the end of this movie.
Yeah, agreed. And again, I wish we'd had more of that, but instead they spent time on cooking one-liners. Ow. Dude.
Bruce is so extra and it's annoying.
This is terrible. They didn't have to add this.
You know what's funny? Like, I saw someone brought this up on Twitter yesterday. The way that like stairway was landed, that whole shot, it's very similarly laid out to the hallway Lex walked down to get to the scout ship. And that like, Lex was walking in and Superman was falling down is another parallel that someone pointed out, and I think that's freaking amazing. That we are still finding things about this movie to love.
Right?
Look at the cape. Did you see how it's like spread out behind him? It looks amazing.
Oh, I love that cape.
Again, seriously, grade A Chris Terrio dialogue here. And you're really, like, the fact that Bruce even says about your parents taught you that you mean something, takes what we know about the Kents and, like, twists it in a way that you... In a way, he's right, like, obviously, like, that's what, you know, Martha and Jonathan taught him, but just the way he's twisting it in a way and make him, like, they almost, like, demonize Clark, it's just, I love that. I love the way that's written right here.
Yeah, Bruce is enjoying this a little too much. So.
They told me the world only makes sense
if you force it to.
That is the most Batman line.
And you're totally right, Katie. Like that's such a Batman thing to say, but in the context of this scene, I like truly understanding where Bruce is coming from here. Even though he's in the wrong, you almost sympathize with him because this is what he's tricked himself into believing, and it's insane to think that Batman would do this. But in this reality, you just accept it as that's what he's doing. Here comes the most controversial scene in all of superhero cinema.
They can all bite me. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't care this God.
I'm done.
See, that's all about Bruce's idea of who he thought Superman was.
Yep.
Yeah.
And see, people will never understand, like, because if he said, save my mom, he's going to think, hey, your mom is an alien too. Why am I going to save her?
Exactly. Or why do I...
Well, was he literally going to stab him in the face?
Lord, I hope not.
Yeah, he was. Oh my gosh, he was gonna stab him in his head. That's so.
I'm so fucked up right now. That's disgusting. You're a gross motherfucker.
It's horrible. And that's why I'm so thinking about if Lois had come late, he would have been dead and he would have had a spear through his head. That would have been the worst for her. And
I spent all this time after every single time I watch this movie forgiving Bruce, and then I get right back to the point where I just want to beat him in the face. And then right there again.
Yeah.
This is my authentic emotion right now.
I need to write
if Clark had died, he would have killed Bruce?
About
he would have got Punisher on him?
But this scene in particular, the high soprano when he comes back.
I don't know. We had a really weird Lois Lane moment because it's unprecedented. We don't let her react to his death. We let him react to hers.
Yeah.
See, now it's hitting him. He's like,
I would have watched him. I would have watched him toss that spear, and then I would have basically ran after him and pummeled him until I couldn't pummel him anymore. Because still the dude was gonna stab your boyfriend in the face.
I find that such a powerful, beautiful moment. I cannot believe people want to make fun of that, but hey, whatever. Okay.
That's like for me, especially coming from someone who I'm triggered the very same way that Bruce is whenever I hear my mom's name.
Yeah.
It's so that's why for me, I also get offended when people trivialize how and people are just making fun of how dumb that scene is and blah 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 blah. I'm like, well, until you experience loss, you have no place to criticize that scene. So shut the fuck up, honestly.
Yep. Totally get it.
I love this right here.
Oh, I know.
And people think, oh, now they're best friends because he said Martha. Do you see that? Clark's still not happy.
Exactly, and he thinks really hard before he gives him that.
That's literally not what happened, and people say that.
So yeah, he thinks really hard, but eventually the greater good, it's like okay. So yeah.
Treats this like they would be okay, and obviously they wouldn't be okay. They weren't gonna be okay for
They're as okay as they need to be right now to handle the bigger problem. That doesn't mean they're best buddies. And you see it later too when he lands and asks if he found the spear. It's just the way he even says it is like, I mean, yeah, they're not best friends.
No, sir, you don't.
And Alfred's right.
Oh, Alfred, I love you!
How many I told you so's he gets in this movie?
I know. I remember there was a theory going around before Justice League came out that all the looks that Clark gave to Lois, he looked down at her as if she was pregnant or something. Can you imagine if we went into Justice League and it ends with her telling Clark that she's pregnant?
That's all I want. All I want is them to have baby and get married and super sons and all that.
And that was a frustrating thing about Justice League is that Joss made an effort to not even bring up the engagement at all. Because Zack shot it. It was in the trailer. He brought it up, and then they completely cut that scene out and reshot it.
And it's worse because Zach was so proud of it too, like when the trailer dropped, and then on Vero he like posted his like storyboard for it because he's like he's like fanboying out with us or something. And then like honestly, it's so terrible because he got excited about it.
They took so
I mean,
much
I'm
out.
gonna say this,
It just
and I
doesn't
don't have
feel
any
like
way
Zach's
of proving
movie.
it. I'm gonna say it until the end, but Batman vs Superman ends with a funeral. Justice League ends with a wedding. That's the natural order of things.
Yep, agreed. That is like the best scene. And this whole fight, I am serious, you guys. If I want to watch an amazing, adrenaline-filled, incredible fight, this is always the one I turn to. I need to see somebody beat somebody up. Batman, come and do it. Plus, he's really smart. I love the way this whole scene goes.
Even though there's still a lot of killing in this scene, I still think this is one of the best Batman fight sequences I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, look how fast their expectations are up, and then got both their guns almost immediately. Like, what in the heck?
So cool.
I didn't get what the deal was with this scene at first because the first time I saw it, I was like, okay. And then afterwards, like, everyone was talking about this scene like it was the best part of the movie. Rah, rah, rah. And now I watch it and I'm like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool. So I don't know why it didn't get me the first time.
You might have been still processing, and that's totally okay on the first time. It's hard
I mean,
sometimes,
it's
especially
probably
with
the
actors.
highlight in terms of just pure action, but like, you know, if you're in it for the emotional, right, this is like the least significant thing, you know what I mean? It's just Batman being cool, but doesn't really do anything for his character or anything.
No, but they need to show like
happening
Batman
too
in his
in the
true
background.
Batman fighting mode, and they saved him for the very last. Because up till now, we've gotten very little of it.
Yep.
It's just really cool to watch him in action and go, this dude's been doing it for 20 years. Like, this is the one that speaks to me the most. Except right there, I'm like, oh, you got carried away with your race there, buddy. You didn't even see the dude come up behind you with a gun. Hello.
Oh, that guy's screwed up.
Hey, don't stab him. You just make him mad. Oh, dude, he just pulled it out, I swear. Dude.
You made me bleed my own blood.
Okay, White Goodman.
I like the guy puts his hands up just how Bruce put his hands up earlier.
I know.
Yep. Kind of universal. Okay, I take it back.
How did he know he was right? It's still a cool shot, but like.
And reading on his game.
I'll kill her! Believe me, I'll do it!
You know, this guy is Australian, but he has this very, like, sharp and
And the guy who played him was also in Captain America: Winter Soldier too.
yeah, exactly. They casted him as like another shady Russian, you know. Shady.
Martha is just so mellow.
I know.
She's like, all right then. She rolls the punches so well. I'm just impressed.
I remember all the jokes that came out after that scene when, because Ben Affleck and her were in that movie Hollywoodland together, where he played George Reeves, who actually played Superman, and they were like she played like the woman that he was seeing in the movie, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's funny.
Late, says the White Rabbit.
Another one of my favorite like interactions in the movie.
Yeah, especially this extended one.
I know.
And one.
It's so well shot too. Like again, the use of color. Like.
Yes.
Excuse me. Gotham roast. Well done. Hello.
I love this.
Bad news.
rather do the breaking in person.
The way his face changed.
I don't know.
You'll learn.
Oh, it's so them.
I don't hate the sin.
It is.
And I gotta
I'm in love
say,
with how much they hate each other.
Yours.
and I gotta say, Clark's really rocking the scar on his face right
Cannot
there.
let you win. I gave the bat a fighting chance to do it, but he was not.
Yeah.
So
He looks
man
cool.
won't kill God.
I kind of missed the line. I was sorry that it was coming. Yeah.
Devil will do
it. I don't hate it. Right there. Something up a lot of pain. Yeah.
Does anybody else like miss Lombard in like a weird way?
Yeah.
Such a tard, and I wanted to smack him stupid, but I kind of missed him.
I mean, I figured like the actor wasn't available, but I also like maybe like Lombard like moved to another paper, or maybe he was like out on leave or something. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe he said Metropolis was too dangerous.
Guys, they both have a scar. Lex is on his hand and Clark's is on his face.
Oh yeah.
This is like amazing CGI. I'm so
I've always thought that. Like, look at the amount of detail on Doomsday. People could talk about how ugly he is. He's a creature. Is he supposed to look like Henry Cavill? No.
Yeah, but like, yeah, think about what the hell happened to Steppenwolf.
Oh, sad.
I think Steppenwolf just needed touching up, and I think Zack Snyder would have done that. Because there were scenes where he looked great.
Right there.
And see, and like going back to the whole like Lex's line of like, no one saved him from Daddy's fists and abominations. Well,
Exactly.
Clark just did.
Exactly. Well, and it really goes to show that, like, Lex is an accelerated version of Bruce. And Lex needed that hero to intervene when he was a child if he was ever going to not make these choices that he's making. And nobody was there. So he is who he is, and it's too late. He does not recognize Superman as someone who can save him now. He just needs to be destroyed.
One thing it was kind of nice about like looking at Justice League when they go back to the site is that how it's still like in remains, like they still haven't touched it, and it had been months at that point.
Yeah. Well, I think they cleaned up most of the debris, but they left the head, and that was very symbolic in terms of, you know, this is our fallen hero site now.
And also, I did feel like a lack of presence from Swanwick too.
Yes, that really bothered me.
Because I feel like he would have had something to say. Like he would have had like something with Lois or even like the League. You know.
Yeah, even just something small, but the lack of the effect on the world at all in Justice League was just really creepy. We got all this Russian family. Nobody in the world knew or cared what was going on, you know, except for this Russian family. It was.
This thing emerged from the plutonium crash site just moments ago. Thankfully, the workday is over in the downtown core. It's nearly empty. Now, military aircraft, those are Apache helicopters, they have now...
To be honest, it kind of kills me how we got to point out every time that everything is inhabited in the critics. But it just, man, get over your stuff. Things happen, people are. It doesn't always mean the hero can control everything about it.
Cheap like a cross.
Okay, that effect is really cool to me.
It really is.
I don't know what it is, but just the way it was depicted, it's so comic book like. I could just picture it in little frames.
You know, and the funny thing about this whole sequence right here, of just like Diana being on a plane and thinking like, now's my time, like I have to intervene. It's just, I love the way that Zack introduced Wonder Woman here, And also, I just want to bring up the fact that, like how terrified would the world be, especially after everything that they went through with Zod's invasion, essentially. And then to see this Kryptonian creature just destroying Metropolis, and they're like, oh god, not again. Like, I can't imagine, like, what that must even, like, look like or feel like in the context of this universe. Ugh. You jerk.
Are you crazy?
Excuse you.
You would have been fine
One casualty.
if...
Superman.
God have mercy on us.
Where's Ocean Master?
Again, no, it just shows you how trigger happy the government is, and how they're truly not the quote good guys either, and how quick they are to sacrifice Superman if it means, saving everybody else. I mean, they still come back to that same Man of Steel mentality. He's not really one of us.
Clark is so brave, isn't he?
He is so brave. And he is so self-sacrificing. It just... I don't understand how people can't find him heroic, you know?
And one thing I gotta bring up, too, is I love how we see here coming up just how the nuke affected Superman physically. Showing that, look, like, he's not entirely impervious to everything. And that's why I love, like, I know it was an homage to The Dark Knight Returns, but I love that little addition that Zack added, showing that, again, that this isn't, like, your everyday Superman who's, like, he's literally indestructible. I love the subtle theme of Man of Steel leaking here in the background.
Yep.
I just feel like this is why I didn't see it coming at any point. I feel like this is what happened. They nuked him, and I was like, okay, we're done. We're definitely not going to kill Superman.
He comes back and you're like, okay,
killed Superman, and everything's fine, and I'm going to be fine. And then Zack Snyder ruined my life.
Superman is Mr. President. Projectile tools. Superman. Sir. It's moving.
Ferris's eyes are like so massive, right?
She's super cute. She's like much bigger power.
I just want everybody from Man of Steel to just keep showing up, honestly.
Me too.
Same here.
Really great supporting cast. We did a really good job building them, and it's a waste to not keep using those folks.
Shockwaves are getting stronger. Every time we hit it, we make it more powerful. We can't attack.
What are you saying, Calvin?
I'm saying it's unkillable.
I don't know, watching this for me, like, makes me really question how many, like, creatures or, like, otherworldly kind of things, like, other than, like, Killer Croc, like, Batman has really, like, seen in this universe. I don't know, just, like, watching this, like, and seeing how, like, afraid Batman is when he sees Doomsday. Like, what else has he fought? Like, I don't know if that's something that, like, you guys have ever thought about, but just for me, like, what... There's another thing I love about this Batman being a little more aged, is that there's so much history to him already kind of there. So for me, like, watch this up, like how, like, were there a lot of, like, realistic threats? Were there a lot of, like, just otherworldly kind of things, kind of like Killer Croc, like I said, or anything else? Like, I don't know, but this whole sequence is just, like, really awesome. And I love seeing their dynamic and kind of seeing Batman be more of Batman now that he's kind of done with trying to kill Superman. I love this shot right here. I think this is one of the most beautifully shot moments in the movie. Again, paying homage to the Dark Knight
Returns shot in the film.
Yeah, and that is again what I missed the Justice League. So many shots that some were Zack, and it was like, oh, that was beautiful, and other ones were so not him.
One of the best entrances coming up.
clipped your wing, dude.
I love that in this
I love the
moment.
way the camera just like follows the moving objects.
I love how Doomsday moves.
I know a lot of people complained about how they showed Wonder Woman in costume and they showed Doomsday, but honestly, I was worried when the trailers were coming out that the whole movie was just going to be Batman versus Superman and nothing else was going to happen. And this like eased my mind, so I don't regret them showing this at all.
I don't either. It was like I knew there would be something bigger than them fighting. There had to be to unify them at the end. I knew that was coming, and so when it came in, it was like, oh, it's Doomsday. Okay, then, you know, for some reason my non-comic reading mind did not put together Doomsday equals Superman dying, so that got me. But yeah, I don't regret them showing it in the trailer. It didn't ruin anything.
And I still don't get why people are mad about her whole thing in the water trying to spear. I think that was a stupid criticism.
This thing, this
People like
creature,
to whine.
seems to feed on energy.
This thing is from another world. My world.
I've killed things from other worlds before.
She with you?
I don't trust you.
Epic! See?
I know.
My odds of epic infinity. Music and fighting, everything in this. I don't know. It's just so I love it. It's just so well put together. I love them. Woo! Strong win. And also, just kind of accelerates it faster and faster and faster to the end. It's very, very, it keeps you going.
Like, this is seriously the most epic part of the fight right here. And just the way the score builds up from Hans and Junkie. This is one of my favorite moments in the movie. Like, as a superhero fan, this is just awesome.
So exciting to see her in action and see her just go. I was like, holy crap! I now love Wonder Woman. Oh my god! Teamwork, teamwork.
I listen to this track on the soundtrack repeatedly. I would say almost every day, and I'm not even kidding.
Me too. Can't help it. It's just really cool. I just love Batman. He's like, he was useless. You know, he doesn't have the same abilities. He's gonna have to be smart about how he does things.
I could literally talk about this fight scene and the score behind it all day. Like, every moment of this fight, it just feels epic and amazing and beautiful.
This is like my favorite part.
Gorgeous shot.
It's like literally art right here.
It looks exactly like a painting.
Yes, it's just art. Anybody would whine about going to save any life at all, but especially hers in the middle of a fight, just speaks to how sad our society is. Okay, so that person's expendable? Okay. Says a lot about how you see.
it's so dumb that he goes in there because he knows he's gonna pass out and she's gonna have to drag him out of there. Honestly.
Literally could have died in there and it wouldn't have been
I don't think he knows that he's gonna pass out. He knows it affects him, but again, he's gonna push through because the job just needs to be done. He almost drowned doing it. He's not gonna ask her to do it. It's just, it needs to happen, so I'm just gonna take care of it. As far as I'm able to.
Like, look how helpless he is.
Yeah.
But see, I love that they give her the opportunity to be like, oh, I got it, you know. They're a team. They work together as a team.
And again, even though a bunch of fanboys will argue, they're like, oh, why is Lois Lane even here? Like, I think it's so important to have her here in this moment. Not only for the role she plays, but just to have her, like, physically there when this is all going down. And seeing what Clark is willing to do for the world and for her. I think it's truly beautiful, and I love what Zach was able to do with her in these scenes.
Do you feel that slow build in the music? It kind of kills me every time.
I don't think I'll ever not tear up during this moment. Just the acting from Henry and Amy, just fantastic, and it makes it so much more real.
No, Clark, you can't.
This is my world.
No, Clark, don't.
You are my world.
At this point, when I was watching the movie for the first time, I seriously felt like Lois here, and I was like, please, Clark, no. I don't want you to die. It's so sad, but
it's thematically perfect, though. I know what you're saying, Dick. It's so sad, but it's so beautiful. You check out the teamwork. Love the teamwork.
And Bruce had that one last shot.
Exactly, and he was smart, and he saved it till it mattered. Because right then, if he'd blown, like, the opportunity would have been lost. The end is affecting him, but he just pushes through anyway, because that's what he does.
If that rock thing hadn't crumbled, then everything would have been okay.
Yep.
It is, and I love the parallel between his death and Jarrell's death too.
Agreed.
Literally just like changing this scene to make sure that like he first tries to pull it out and then literally has to push it deeper into his chest.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's just Superman.
That is so Superman.
I love Death of, but
like he gets like he pushes the thing in, and then the next time you see him, he's dead.
Oh, look at that beautiful face. Look at that 5-box shadow.
Jane, you're the best. All the different angles, cinematography that Zach does is just the most amazing thing. He comes at it from such a different perspective.
Did Larry Fong do Man of Steel or just this one?
Just this.
Oh, just this one. Yeah.
I can't remember it was a different cinematographer for Man of Steel. Let me see if I can find out who it was.
Oh, the crosses in the background. Oh my gosh, this is the Jesus being lifted from the cross.
Well, and they're lowering him down and everything.
There's so many people angry about the religious imagery. It's like, what did it do to you? Like, honestly.
No, I mean,
Seems to evoke quite strong emotion
mad
in
at it.
people,
like,
one way
so
or the
it's
other.
essentially a Jewish sort of a Jewish story, but then it's been kind of like co-opted by the Christian imagery of like Superman as Jesus, which kind of not the point of him, I guess. I mean, it's kind of the point of him, but it's kind of not.
Well, in some ways, yeah, Zach is like making the religious symbolism and kind of comparing him to that, and yet at the same time deconstructing him away from that. And very much he's been adapted as that kind of figure. But we saw also tons and tons of mosaic symmetry through Men of Steel. Lots and lots of it. Him parting the ocean, you know, all that kind of different things. And so it's really interesting. It's almost like he's just kind of analyzing it all. And I don't know. But I will say that Moses and Jesus have a lot of parallels in their own journeys. And, you know, so I could understand people being upset that he's been co-opted by Christianity from Jewish religion. That makes sense.
God,
But at
this
the same
shot
time,
is
they're
my
both
favorite
similar.
shot in the whole movie. Look at it. It just looks like a classical painting. Look at it.
Right? Exactly. Always art. Always art with Zach. And I love it.
So yeah, Danielle, you were saying?
Okay, if I have one more person ask, what's that goopy standing in? I'm gonna smack people. Do you not know what Afterbirth is? Does nobody know? Like, I mean, why are they all shocked?
I'm just curious as to like literally what was Jesse Eisenberg standing in for the filming of that scene. That's the only thing I'm curious about.
He's standing in the same
with that
watery
Steppenwolf,
crap
it
that
looks
was in
so
when
badass.
he got Zod's body
That could have
going.
been the Steppenwolf we got. You know, it looks so badass even if it's in like monochrome and made of little gray particles. It looks so much more terrifying than
And all
what we
that
got.
blood crap is left over from Zod's birth. Like, maybe I'm bothered by nothing.
And I love how they actually had to shave Jesse Eisenberg's head for the scene.
I deeply love the transformation.
Me too.
To really see. This was his original story, and now Lex is well and truly fully born into villain mode.
Danielle?
God, I love the use of the score in this.
No, okay, this is bullshit. This is the most bullshit thing about the Justice League. The whole Lois I couldn't work after that. I took a break and like, dude, she wrote the Superman article after he died. Don't talk any bullshit to me about her, Lois Lane, my beautiful, wonderful, strong lady, not being strong after Clark died. Like, shut the fuck up, Joss.
Yeah, and then apologizing. Like, she would never do that.
I agree. And people are like, oh, you gotta let her grieve. You gotta let women grieve. No, that's not the point. People are allowed to grieve. Women are allowed to grieve.
There's nothing to apologize
but it's just
for.
out of character. It's just not what she does.
So that's the one you wanted? Yeah. I'm just gonna decide.
Danielle?
Yes.
What were you saying before about
Oh, is in terms of his Jewish origin, I think what's really interesting is that we have a lot of talk about like centering Jesus in these conversations, but I mean, as far as I know, Jewish dogma doesn't like deny the existence of Jesus. We're just talking about him not as like a savior. And I think that's really interesting because we kind of have this background discussion that's happening in terms of like whether or not Superman is like a god or just a guy trying to do the right thing. And I think that, you know, I mean, we could even postulate that the Jewish half of that conversation is he's just a guy trying to do the right thing. He's just a man. He's just a very good dude who martyred himself in the name of his faith. And I think that in that way, like using Jesus as an allegory doesn't seem that flawed to me. I think making Jesus central to the story is probably flawed from a Jewish perspective, but theologically speaking, I don't think there's anything wrong with invoking Jesus when you're talking about superheroes. I think that he does the same thing with Bruce when he's having him executed in the nightmare. He has Bruce strung up like Jesus on the cross with two people on either side of him being executed as well. I mean, like, there's definitely Jesus imagery when he's talking about Batman. It's just allegorically really convenient as far as when we're talking about heroes.
Yep. Well said, Danielle. Thank you.
You know what's kind of sad, like, thinking about it? Like, Suicide Squad treated Superman's death in a more realistic way than Justice League did.
Yes.
Like, the fact that they reused some of the shots from this movie, and, like, the whole squad was formed because of Superman's death. And, like, yes, you could say that the Justice League was formed the same way, but, like, you felt more of the world reacting to it in Suicide Squad than in Justice League.
Yes. Yeah, Suicide Squad still felt like part of this universe, and Justice League just didn't.
You know, for me, like, Suicide Squad is very flawed, but I think at the end of the day, I'm gonna end up rewatching that more than I'll ever rewatch the theatrical cut of Justice League.
Yeah. I honestly just, I don't think I can watch Justice League anymore. I've seen it 3 times, and it's too much. I can't do it anymore. It doesn't do it for me, and it just makes me upset and angry.
It's kind of ironic because, like, both Suicide Squad and Justice League, like, had the promise of being amazing, and then we were let down,
By
and it was all like because of the studio involvement and everything. But Suicide Squad is like, I don't know, it's just better. Like, it's bad just objectively because of the plot issues and everything. And Justice League is enjoyable, and I think it's better quality. But for some strange reason, Suicide Squad is just more enjoyable to me than Justice League. I don't know why.
Yeah.
What I respect about Suicide Squad is that it was a very ambitious movie, and it tried to do something really, really lofty. It tried to do something that didn't play to the norms of the genre, and I think that I'm always going to respect it for that, and I'm always going to respect Ayer for that. Like, that's the reason that I liked Bright so much. That, you know, the audacity to do something that's outside of the norms is powerful on its own. It doesn't need anything else in order to impress me. Whereas Justice League is the complete lack and absence of ambition.
Yep. And it's a complete catering to the whims of the basic public.
Backslide
And
of the
you're right, that's
ambition,
exactly right.
Backslide of everything we were promised. I don't know. I mean, like, Suicide Squad, I think it succeeded in what it tried to do, even if it wasn't well received, or like what it tried to do just didn't really work. But, like, you know, as for what it is, I think I still really, really enjoy it if you take it on the terms of, like,
I really enjoyed
don't know
it.
what it was trying
It's
to
fun.
do.
I have way more fun watching it than I ever will with Justice League.
Yeah.
And it feels more,
exactly.
I don't know, cohesive, complete, and I definitely, I'm same as you, Danielle, I admire that it was ambitious and that it wanted to do something different. I will always admire that because I'm getting sick to death of the same cookie cutter crap.
I also feel like Suicide Squad, for whatever reason, is very inoffensive, and I still feel like Justice League, like, came along and spit in my eye.
Thank you.
I feel like, you know, like,
I
Justice League, like, wanted to angle at a certain group of people, and it really did seem like it wanted to, like, personally alienate us. Whereas Suicide Squad, you know, kind of incidentally alienated some of its audience, but, like, I don't know, I felt like the intention was very different.
Agreed.
I gotta say, going back to, I love this right here with the score and everything, just the voiceover.
We fight.
Like, Suicide Squad was very much aimed at the fans, you know, whether or not some of the fans found it a bit too odd for their taste. Like, it was definitely angled at fans, you know, whereas Justice League was just angled at that whole Avengers, you know, mass media
appeal
audience, which is like complete disrespect, you know, all the fans who've been actually responsible for these films' success in other years.
Sorry,
you know, for the fact that,
you
you know, Batman v Superman is growing in popularity and stuff, even so many years after it comes out and stuff.
You were saying, Katie?
Yeah, and not
Sorry,
just
first
the
time
fans,
in this
but
film
like the people
that we
who were
get
involved
the
in the
full-blown
original
Superman
films, like the
chorus that we got in First Flight.
Yeah.
Only time.
Honoring the people who are involved,
I need
you
to
know,
do
like
music meta for this film because it really, everything it does, every choice is very intentional, and Hans and Zach did a really good job. It really shows you where everything is at.
Yep.
And Superman has arrived at his full heroic Superman status, even though he's dead in the eyes of the world, because that theme is showing it to you, you know? And it's
one more time.
I love
when
the
you
way
think, when you think about like all the effort that goes into making like these movies, like you know how much time and energy the actors spend, the set designers spend, the cinematographers spend, the effects people, they all spend on making like such a beautiful product. You look at BVS, every single thing is there's so much care put into it, and then you have something like Justice League where it's like half the movie is reshot in like shoddy, just incredibly shoddy, and like half the actors' performances are done away with, and then you have the main cinematographer of the movie coming and saying that you know the original vision has been scrapped. Like it's just completely disrespectful to like the people who've been working on the movie so far. You know,
yes.
Like think of all the work like Chris Terrio put into writing BVS, and then into developing something as deep as that, and then you're just gonna throw it all away on Justice League to make it like I don't know, wacky or something.
I feel like it feels like that final cut was just made, and then people were like, "Well, nobody cares what this looks like anyway. Like, people just accept whatever we give them," and that was what was really hurtful to me about it.
It just felt like maybe everyone on the team by the time they got to that stage of like trying to patch together the end product they just gave up. They were just like, there's no point putting any more of our effort into this. You know? I don't know.
Yep.
I still have some friends there.
It doesn't even look like it has a style, to be honest.
No, there's a very two very distinct styles. One is the Avengers, and one is Zack Snyder, but with saturation turned on high, and like sped up by 0.5.
Okay, just like looking at like scenes like this, like these close up dialogue focused shots, like they just aren't.
Moment, you know, there's silence in this.
I feel like if you really
still that you're like focusing on the heat waving out of the brand.
Exactly.
You know,
like
the high tension.
He's hungry. He's found us. And he's coming!
You see something like this, like the actor's performance takes up the whole frame.
Yep.
It's just like
Like that's why, like, honestly, I don't care how people react to this. I think Jesse Eisenberg is the best live-action Lex Luthor we've ever had. All respect to Michael Rosenbaum, all respect to Gene Hackman or whatever. This one resonated with me the most, and
me too.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that Jesse was able to do his thing in this. Or not, okay, now I want to still focus on this real quick, because even though we know how Jesse turned out, I still love this scene.
That gorgeous scene of Bruce leaving the graveyard too.
With the Man of Steel music.
Diamond Absolutes.
Yeah.
I know it's not here yet, but in the moment when the credits start and Launch just starts like vibrating, I don't know how to describe it. You know, Launch, like the song
from the soundtrack. Yeah.
And it just when it hits. Yeah, when it hits the crescendo, like 30 minutes in, it's like dopamine has been injected into my heart. Like I got so many feelings.
I just love this. Just
it's so triumphant.
Always
so
peak Zack Snyder, peak everyone involved in this movie, and
everyone.
I just okay now I'll take the time to rant
do
about
that.
how much I was so.
Why do that if they're not gonna bring him back organically? Like I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and that's the thing too. Like I remember like because I sent this video to you guys a while back of like Kevin Smith was doing like a podcast or something, and someone in the audience had seen a rough cut of Justice League before Joss had stepped in, and that like I guess they were originally going to use like the Codex storyline from Man of Steel as a part of the way of bringing him back. That it was going to be more natural, and that was going to play more of a role in Superman's resurrection.
Yeah, but he was reading off the same thing that was circulating after Justice League came out, and I do have some issues with some of the things in there. I just don't know how true it is.
No, yeah,
I mean, like, I'm not saying that because he's confused and doesn't know who he is and the voices won't shut up that Clark wouldn't move to attack people standing nearby, but if he and Lois just landed at the farm, why are people standing nearby? Nobody's ever there. They're out in the middle of freaking nowhere in Kansas. There's not even a sidewalk. You're telling me there's just random dudes standing there for no reason? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So there were some things in that list that was like, I don't really know. You know, there were other things that were like, yes, that rings and that would seem about right, and other things seemed a little bit off. And even the whole cyborg dying thing, I was like, what?
Okay, yeah, that was a little, yeah.
You know, I'm just not sure what to believe of that list. It's really, really hard.
Well,
but
I
you're
remember
right.
when
I watched that podcast, and Kevin was reading, and there were certain things that the chick was nodding to, even though they didn't show her face.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't all of it, you know. So I just don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, was that like it's like you said, like she was agreeing to a good portion of what was there, and some of it was just like I think some of the stuff was made up since there is some validity to some of it. Like the Codex thing makes sense. That sounds like something Zach would have done. Because
yes, and I completely agree. That rang true, and I was like, oh yeah, totally.
Especially because Zach likes to call back to things that he's already set up, and the Codex wasn't mentioned in Batman v Superman, which makes me think it's highly likely that it was mentioned in Justice League, because he likes to call back to things.
Yep.
What I thought was gonna happen, because he was obviously like alive, because we saw that at the end of this movie. So what I thought was gonna happen was they were gonna try to bring him back, and it wasn't gonna work. And then it was gonna be, you know, like in movies they do like a fake out thing, and then later it works out, and it's like, if you believe, then it'll happen or whatever. I thought they were gonna do it like that. I thought they were gonna try to bring him back to life. It wasn't gonna work, and then later he comes back, and they're like, oh, see, we just need to have faith. Everything worked out. But like when they walked into the ship, into the Kryptonian ship, and like no, it wasn't much. It was Krypton. Krypton played for like 1 second, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna work. I can't believe this is happening. This feels weird, but I could tell that the scene was directed by Zach, so I was like, okay then.
It was just really easy and really bloodless and really straightforward, and it felt like rewarding characters for doing the wrong thing, and that was just really dissonant.
Yeah, because of how they led up to it.
We're building heroes, and we're basically having them fight against their base instincts, their base sense of what's right and wrong. We're having them disagree with Wonder Woman of all people and say, well, I know this is wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then suffer like next to zero consequences for that. It didn't work. Like, the narrative just wouldn't stick together, and it was so frustrating to try and like force it into some sort of sense when we haven't had to do that with Man of Steel or Batman versus Superman. It just comes to us.
Yes, and that was the most frustrating feeling to come out feeling like, okay, this feels like all the other basic stuff on television and films that I've seen where they didn't really try that hard, and it does not fit with what we were just seeing with Zach's two previous movies. It is not his movie. It is not the same. They took it and basically gutted it of everything and then crammed it back together to make it look like an empty copy and then just put it out there, and it's just it doesn't work.
The thing that I think is really sad about it is that we're never gonna see the Snyder vision because that intervention happened really early in the process. So we're really never gonna see an actual Snyder cut. We're gonna see like the best that Snyder can do, even if we see it 10 years from now, because I really do think that eventually we're going to see it. We're still going to just see the best that can be done under the circumstances.
Yeah.
Agreed, but even that would make me feel better than that steaming pile of crap I got served in the theater.
Like, even if it had been, like, maybe not as layered, a little more straightforward of a story, like, I would have been okay with that. Like, I knew going in it was going to be Batman v Superman, and that was okay.
Yeah.
Like, give me a straightforward story, just, like, let it be Zack's straightforward story. Let it be his simpler Justice League film. Like, I would have been perfectly okay with that. But then, they took advantage of a really shitty situation and him losing his daughter. And they're like, no, like, and I don't know if I believe that Zack was the one who brought Joss on. I feel like Warner Brothers brought Joss in, and Zack was just like, you know what, and Zack was like, you know what, fine, whatever. You guys are gonna get rid of me anyway. I think he knew what was gonna happen even before. Honestly, I feel like he had an idea that was gonna happen before his daughter, unfortunately, killed herself. Because they're saying, oh, they brought Joss in for rewrites and stuff. That was the first signal for me that I didn't realize at the time that Warner Brothers was gonna try to get rid of Zack early, regardless of what was gonna happen. And it's.
I think what they did with. Sorry.
Okay.
I think what they did with Justice League is worse than what they did with Batman v Superman, or even with Suicide Squad, even though I don't know everything about the situation with Suicide Squad. Because they removed things and replaced them with something else. It's one thing if the movie exists and you cut scenes from it. It's another thing if the movie exists and you cut things and you want some more scenes in there. It's another thing if you replace scenes that already existed and try to pass them over with cheap replicas, because that's what they did. The whole Superman return thing would have made sense if we had seen the actual Zack Snyder scene where they all stand around and talk about it, because he filmed it, but then they decided to cut it out, and then they made a cheap replica of it and didn't even keep the costumes the same. And then they also made a cheap replica of the Clark and Lois scene on the farm. And it's like, I would prefer you just don't show it at all than make a knockoff of it.
I completely agree.
Scenes were really hard to take. The farm scenes continue to be really hard to take. They just there couldn't have been anything that they said that was that necessary to cut. I mean, it was just the romance half of the story, and maybe Lois was more a part of the actual action going into it in the first place. That's what I feel. But I mean, it just shows
it has to be somewhat plot related for them to have to cut it. It has to be related to a plot that they cut. Otherwise, it makes no sense. So I agree with you, Danielle. What else is so cool that you have to take it out or dub over it? Sorry, continue.
I just think it speaks to it also, I think either Lois is way more involved in the first cut, which I believe is the case, but it also speaks to a weird, really creepy kind of skin crawly need to force Superman into a completely different character than who he actually is. And I think that's the thing that unsettles me the most about that cut, is that not only does he look kind of weird and inhuman, and I think the uncanny valley is out of control. Every single time I see him, I'm like, what's that goblin? But it's terrible. It's really bad. I don't own that child. That's not my son. But they found his personality offensive. And that's the only answer. The only answer is that they literally found Clark Kent's actual personality offensive. And that's so creepy. And also, I mean, kind of feeds into my tinfoil hat syndrome about this whole Superman's allowed to have X amount of masculinity and, you know, must be, you know, XYZ in order to promote whatever bullshit toxic values we want to put on men. And it's just, I don't know, they killed Thor and Superman in the same month for me, so I had a really 1-2 punch, and I just really feel like what we're doing is kind of walking back the emotional range that superheroes are allowed to have in general, and that really concerns me. That's a systemic problem. That's a problem that I think is bigger than these films. That is really what made me so angry watching these, is that you know, Ragnarok happened, and then right afterward Justice League happened, and both of those just sort of said, you know, the full range human regular hero with sensitive feelings and who loves his girlfriend is stupid, and you're stupid for liking him, and we're going to trash everything to do with that. And that is a really alarming thing to have these films say.
I completely agree. And that was pretty much how I felt when Justice League dropped, and it was like, holy crap. And one fell swoop, they kind of killed my love for this line, because they were giving me something that was so awesome and different, and I don't know, it just defied all of that horrible expectation. And then it went right back to it, and so I fell right out of love almost immediately, and I don't know if I'll ever get back to that point. I probably won't. Zach's not there. And I agree, it's very concerning. It bothers me, and I'm not here for that. So if that's what they bought into, well, I'm probably out.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get that. Like, I'm at the point where, like, okay, I'll see what Shazam and Aquaman have to offer, and, you know, in the midst of us, you know, watching the movie, they announced that Shazam's set for release on April 5th of next year. So as of right now, the only two set DCEU movies left are Aquaman and Shazam. Mm-hmm. Now, I have faith in James Wan's movie, because James Wan, like, he seems like the type of guy, and we've said this before, that I don't think Warner Brothers is easily gonna try to interfere with his movie. Like, I think James would fight back and be like, hey.
I hope not, but at this point, I don't know. I don't trust him at all.
Yeah, but I mean, I have faith in the director, obviously more than Warner Brothers. Honestly, fuck Warner Brothers. And they're doing all this shakes-up, and they're doing all this stuff, and they're like, and now they're saying, oh, you know, we gotta try not to be like Disney. Well, it ain't what you fucking said 2 months ago when you released that Avengers 2.0 that wasn't even good. Like,
can you believe that?
It's just like, Warner Brothers is being so reactionary, and it took me years to admit, but they're literally just any other business out there. They're in it to make money, and you know what? They try to cater to everyone who hated the DCEU, and look what happened. Everyone still hated it anyway. So what was your real accomplishment there? You've lost money.
This is the thing, though, is that from day one, I've always said that I've always had the faith that Warner Brothers would do what's in its best interest financially, because that just makes sense, and that's good business, and that's how it should be when you're running a business. And they've just decided to dive bomb their own franchises. Like, what they're doing makes no sense, because financially, all of these movies were doing fine. Financially, like, all that happened was Warner Brothers got extremely greedy, and a lot of people made really bad decisions, and that's what happened. They tried to grab both audiences at the same time and didn't realize that they couldn't hang on to both, and that's what happened. And the thing is that, like, it's not even that, you know, they that I ever at any point thought that they weren't a soulless, terrible corporation that will always do the most terrible thing and doesn't care about art. I felt like that since day one. I've always mistrusted Warner Brothers. Probably because like I'm not a really big fan of like Justice League or Unlimited or any of the animated properties or a lot of the things they've done with Superman, historically speaking. But this is just them shooting themselves in the foot in the name of greed, and it's so ugly, and they're getting exactly what they want. And the shitty thing is they can't even admit that they fucked up. Like, they won't even get that far. They won't even just be like, hey, so we made a super bad call. Can you guys give us your money back? Because we would. In a minute, everyone would be like, yeah, okay, all right, you fucked up, that's fine. Release a Snyder cut.
We'll forgive you this time, exactly. Give us the cut.
Millions of dollars.
I would.
I just think this entire thing is just kind of like ridiculous. Because, you know, you look at Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, and they're both like cult status. Like David Ayer said it himself, you know, Suicide Squad's halfway to cult status. And it's like, it's not that, like, these movies did well in the box office, right? They didn't do like phenomenally, but like they did pretty damn well. And the fact is, having that cult status, having that loyal fan following is what's going to keep your movie alive and relevant and, you know, sustain the franchise throughout how many ever movies you want to make.
And keep it making money for years to come. That's the thing too, is that those are cumulative.
Like, nobody talks about Justice League anymore. I haven't seen a word about it. Like,
I mean, if we're gonna be really real, who's still buying Ant-Man today? Who's still purchasing Ant-Man on DVD? Tell me, because I don't know that person. I'm sorry. Like, I'm gonna come for Ant-Man for the rest of my life. So, but I'm just like, that's the thing. Is that it's like you have to admit that lasting power isn't just about cultural currency. Even when it is about cultural currency, it's also about the fact that these make money in a creepy way. These make money in a way that sort of builds over time. And like not being able to see that is exactly the problem that we have with like basically our freaking economy. Everybody's trying to grab as much money as they can before like what, the world ends? Like, well, I'm glad you're banking on the end of the world, but what if you had something that made money for 40 years and you never had to work again? Wouldn't that be cool? Oh, apparently not.
Warner Brothers, like, I think they kind of miscalculated because they thought that they would make money, because with BVS they made the mistake of cutting the film, and then they were like, oh, okay, people got mad about that. So with Suicide Squad, they were like, okay, let's, they were like, okay, so people didn't think that the last one was funny enough, or the one before that, as a matter of fact, so let's make this one funny. And they tried to make it funny, and it didn't work. And so with Justice League, they're like, okay, we've already messed up. We tried to cut a film, didn't work. We tried to make it funny when the other parts were funny. Okay,
so let's do
figure it out now. Let's remake the movie. So if we want to fix the movie, all we gotta do is just remake it, because cutting it doesn't work. So let's just remake it. And that's crazy, because the amount of time that they had and the continuity just is destroyed. And I don't know what they were thinking, but they thought it was gonna work, and it didn't.
Did they not look at what happened with Suicide Squad? Like, that was when we were like, that was the exact same thing. Where like, they reshot stuff, they cut stuff out because they're trying to make it funny and lighter because people didn't like Batman v Superman. And people like, I'll defend parts of Suicide Squad. I'll defend some very few parts of Justice League because I know that there were Zacks. Like, all the stuff that they added was not good at all. Like, how did they not realize like? Didn't they watch these movies before they release them? Like, do they not have actually good taste in movies? Like, how can they watch every single time?
I mean, honestly, Justice League.
Every single time, I've just been like, is this your first try at making a movie? Like, literally, is this the first time that you've tried to make a film? Because it seems like it's your first try. And if you were a freaking film student, this would be very interesting and you know, it impressive, but you're a freaking film studio and you make hundreds of these films. What are you doing? Who was hired to do this shit? Is everybody just grandfathered in? Is this like what happens with mass nepotism? How do these people get their jobs and keep them?
Honestly, Justice League, to me, Justice League isn't a terrible movie. Like, it's a good movie. It's just comparing it to the rest of the universe, it's comparably, it's trash. But by itself, it's good. Like, I enjoyed it. It's not, you know, the cinematography is okay. It's not Zack Snyder's cinematography, but it works. Yeah.
By itself, it's enjoyable, superficial, and forgettable for me.
Yeah.
And those kind of movies, I don't pay money to go see in the theater because I don't enjoy them that much. As the end of the trilogy that Zach was so carefully putting together and giving us, it fails on every level. And it is trash. So,
and that's the thing too, like, I came out of Justice League, you know, I was like, you know what, like, obviously, my problems are all Joss and Warner Brothers related, but I still love the movie. The more I think about it, the more I don't like it. Like, it's sad to say because I was on the train of, like, you know, everyone's opinion is completely fair. You guys said you guys didn't like it, you guys had all these problems. I was like, you know what, you guys have every right to feel that way. I might not agree with every point of yours, but you know what, that's completely fair. And that was fine. Now, the more I think about it, just like, other than, like, the stuff in Atlantis, other than the stuff with, you know, the Steppenwolf fight with the Amazons, other than some of the other fights or like other scenes, and like the Superman fight I thought was great, but you can tell that was originally shot at night, and then they just like lightened it up for the day, like. And then they added that stupid scene of this whole like "Tell me do you bleed" thing, and like that was kind of funny at first, but it's so CGI that it's just like ugh. And then the whole Batman like, oh no, I'm bleeding.
Yeah, the entire emotional resonance of the scene is just so out of character for Superman. He's saying it in a funny accent. You know, his face is awful. Everything is awful. The "do you bleed" thing is just something Superman wouldn't say. It's something that just felt out of the tone. It just felt out, you know. It just felt icky. Like, why was it there?
Do you know what really made it feel out of place?
What?
Is that he didn't even remember that his name from his biological parents was Kal-El. He didn't even remember that he was Kryptonian. How was he supposed to remember dialogue from the last movie? Like, he's been dead for 18 months. Like, I mean, not dead, but like in a coma. And it's like, he doesn't even remember that he's Kal-El. How is he supposed to remember what Bruce said to him? For like...
Yeah, and I know I heard someone speculate that maybe the original scene was that he didn't speak until after he saw Lois, you know.
Which would make sense. It would make perfect sense.
Yeah. It would
Like,
have made perfect sense. It would have been perfect.
Like,
And it plays for the rest of the scene, you know. The rest of the scene didn't say anything. It's like that's the only thing he says, and that's the only scene that we can see is very clearly shot.
They're so insecure about the absence of banter, and this is exactly why they brought Joss Whedon in, because they were like, there's not enough quipping. And guess what Joss is really good at and compulsively adds to a scene? And that's exactly what he did. He just literally took these Superman scenes and reshot the Superman parts with quips. Like, it's pathological at this point.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
Like, and then the whole like, oh, like, how did you feel about coming back? Itchy. How is that even funny? How?
Like,
what?
he would never say that. It's so out of character.
It's. This whole love of Batman v Superman has really turned into a hate for Justice League. I gotta say.
Sorry, but we have to get it out. This is the problem. We haven't had a really big session about it. And it just, yeah.
Oh man, if we do that, we're just gonna have to pause it every 5 seconds so that all of us can just go on a rant.
I know. Well, because this is the issue when we have so many people who aren't. I know.
Guys, so we're gonna check our record. It's gonna be 4 hours.
Yeah, well, we're already at like 3.5 at this point, so.
I was gonna say, they're used to this by now. Our listeners are like, oh, here they go again. So, you know.
But for anyone still with us, thank you as always. You know, you don't have to stick with us for as long as you do. But yeah, just.
Self-indulgent.
Like, look, I want to say this at least. Like, I'm not done with the DCEU. Like, I still am looking forward to Aquaman. I'm still looking forward to Shazam. But I'm so angry at Warner Brothers and Joss and just everything that happened with Justice League. Like, I just want, if I ever meet Zack Snyder, I'm not even gonna bring up Justice League. I'm just gonna say, like, thank you for what you've done, and then just like shake the guy's hand. That's all.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
that'll be me too, but I will be crying while I do it.
I was totally ready to just let this go. And I just was really ready for them to course correct, like, in the actual way. Like, I was ready for them to look at Justice League and be like, well, obviously that didn't do well on a critical or financial level, so we've learned our lesson. And that just makes sense. Like, it seems really stupid for them to have to learn this lesson, being a, you know, major motion picture studio, but, you know, if they've got to learn that the hard way, I'm fine with that. I'm a teacher. I love the hard way. We learn the hard way all the time. You know, sometimes you have to fail to figure out what you did wrong. That's cool. But you don't learn anything, and you don't progress, and you don't deserve another shot if you're not willing to admit that something went wrong. And this is what Warner Brothers is failing to do in the aftermath of Justice League. They can't even say, hey, that didn't work. Let's try something different. You know, maybe their work will speak for itself from here on out, but I have serious doubts.
If all they did was just screw up the tone of the movie and everything and force the reshoots and everything, that would be one thing. But for me, the reason they need to apologize is because they took advantage of what Zack was going through and what he's still going through. And that's unforgivable, and that needs to be apologized for.
Well, and there was disrespect in every layer of that film. Like, the fact that they took advantage about Zack's daughter, the fact that they brought Joss on, swore to us that it was minimal reshoots and that they were keeping Zack's vision, and I was dumb enough to trust that, you know, swore that they would keep it what Zack wanted it to be, and then got busy dismantling it section by section, reshooting it section by section. The fact that they have the actors telling us the same thing, they're minimal reshoots. You know, the fact that Joss is saying the same thing, but then fires Junkie XL and brings on Danny. You know, every level of it feels so disrespectful to what Zack had been setting up and to the movies that he'd already done and to the man himself, that it just it also feels like serious amounts of disrespect thrown our way. You know, it just, every level of it felt like they just slapped me in the face, and I just not here for it.
Yeah, I mean, nothing for me. There's nothing more to be said other than if Warner Brothers doesn't at least give us. I'm not telling them they have to give us Zack Snyder's cut, but they have to give us Zack Snyder's cut, like, to at least make up for the shit that they've done. Like,
I agree.
Like,
not even just for our sake, but for his sake.
I know, like, at least let the guy, like, he doesn't have to do post-production, but finish the work he would have done. Like, if you have any ounce of respect for the guy, which it seems like they don't care about his tragedy. Like, I know Artyom brought up a point of, like, or I can't remember, or someone brought up the point when we were talking about the fact that, like, because I'm still bothered by the fact that they didn't honor Autumn in any way in the movie. There's no, like, in dedication to Autumn Snyder or anything like that.
Yeah.
That might have been a Zack decision, or I don't know. I'm so bothered by that. It just seems like Warner Brothers have made no effort to really be there for Zack. And we all, because up until then, we were all buying into the trailers and everything that they were saying, that, like, oh, Joss is only coming in and fixing up a couple of things and it could be interesting and blah, 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 blah. We were all sipping the Kool-Aid. Like, we were all buying into it, no issue.
Yeah.
Like, we still had trepidations about Joss. We didn't want him directing Batgirl. We weren't really excited about him being in Justice, being part of Justice League. You know, it is what it is, because we thought Zack was the one who brought him on. But now that we're post-Justice League, it's... If Kevin Tsujihara and all the the execs of Warner Brothers want any amount of respect from fans, not that they even care, but they gotta at least do this for Zack, at least, because because the man deserves it after everything that he's been through in the studio and been silent on. The studio was never there for him throughout all the reviews of Batman v Superman. They never once said, hey guys, don't tell a guy to kill himself just because he made a bad movie. Or he made a movie that you guys didn't like. Like, get over it. Like, they never made any sort of comment about, they're like, yeah, we're just gonna let Zack take the fall for this because it's not our fault. Well, like, that's what their silence said to me. Like, and it's so frustrating that after everything, they're still not willing to admit that they are the ones who have screwed up from day one. This has all been their fault. Like, the interfering with Batman v Superman in the edit room, the interfering with Suicide Squad in production and rushing the script and cutting out a lot of David Ayer's stuff that would have fleshed out the movie a little more, and completely Frankensteining Justice League. I've lost any amount of respect for them as a studio, and I'm excited. I'm still excited for Aquaman and Shazam because I'm excited for DC characters in their films, but I care less about Warner Brothers as a studio. Like I'm at a point where I'm pretty much done.
It's like I'll approach it, but I'll approach it with caution.
Yes.
Like I'll definitely watch Aquaman and Shazam, but I'll put a wall up first, and then like if it's all good, then I'll let myself properly enjoy it.
I agree, Jean.
I don't know. I don't want to be completely shattered like after I watched Justice League. It was just like so disappointing.
That was, I mean, I almost cried in my car, coming out of that. It was like, what in the heck was that crap? Like, it just was so not what they promised us. And so I agree, Gene. It's going to have to be on a movie-by-movie basis now. And they're almost relegated to Marvel territory for me, where it's like only here and there, if a movie seems really good or something I'm going to like, will I go see it? Otherwise, they can just bite me. But I killed myself to get to every one of their films on the earlier ones because I believed in what they were doing and I really, really appreciated it. And now it's just, they punched me in the face, so I'm not going to come back for more of that.
So I think with that being said,
we love Batman v Superman. Sorry.
It's okay. I think we all needed to vent. It's been a while. This is Rebecca's first time here. We all had to vent.
Welcome, Rebecca.
Welcome to the shit show. But seriously, though, Rebecca, thank you for being here. In all seriousness, it's always nice to have another voice in the fandom here. And again, I just want to reiterate to everyone listening, like, if you enjoyed Justice League, that's completely fine. Like, just because we have a lot of problems and we hate Warner Brothers for what they did, doesn't mean you have to feel the exact same way we do. You can still find enjoyment in it. We're all fans here. No matter what happens with these films, I'm still going to be of the same mindset of if you still like a movie, and if I don't like it, that's perfectly fine. Let's have a conversation about it. I'm never going to be the kind of person who's like, you like Justice League? You got to go kill yourself. Like, those are the type of people who are literally the shit of the earth. Like, those people don't deserve a voice in the internet. Or, period.
Yep. I would hope that would be the opposite of our fandom.
Yeah.
The majority of us anyway.
Yeah. So again, I just want you guys to know, everyone listening, that your opinions are still you still matter to us as a fan base. You still matter. I think we all still, like, our thoughts and opinions still matter to Zack. Like, he's still out there liking all those posts and stuff. Like, he's like, I've had the privilege of, like, this is kind of a big deal, not really a big deal. So I recently just got a writing gig for comicbookdebate.com. I'm going to be writing for the DC TV side of things. So not necessarily about the DCEU, but in doing so, one of the people who runs the site, Shiraz, you guys have probably seen him on Twitter at some point. Zack follows him, and when he posted an image of all the new writers and staff for the website, Zack liked it, and my picture was there, so Zack Snyder liked an image with my face on it, so I just wanted to throw that out there. Like, that to me was a very...
You're allowed to be excited, it's okay.
Like, I'm like when I saw that happen, I'm just like, he probably barely looked at the picture. He's like scrolling through it. Oh, Shiraz put something, just like it. He probably didn't even care that I was there. That's okay. He somewhat acknowledged my existence, and as a fan, that's all I could ask for. But anyways, just guys, if you're still fans of these movies, still be fans. If not, you know, it's completely fair. But we're still going to be here. We're still going to be talking and ranting about all these things. So if you guys still want to bear with us, we're still going to be doing this for as long as we feel like it. So thanks to everyone sticking around. I know this turned into a bit of more of a rant than an enjoyment of Batman v Superman, but we still love what Zack has done in these movies, and that's never going to change. Our appreciation of Warner Brothers has changed, obviously, but I just want to thank you guys for sticking around for as long as you have. For you guys in the podcast right now, everyone listening, you guys are all amazing. I just want to get that out there.
Same here.
So, again, I think with that being said, that's probably going to be it from us. So, if you guys want to go around and tell everyone where they can find you online.
I'm Danielle, and I'm a Social Justice League on Tumblr.
Okay, hi, bye, I'm Jean. I'm Batjectivity on Tumblr.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm the Endeavor on Tumblr.
And of course, you guys can find me here at Nerdy Nick on YouTube. You can find me, my first article for comicbookdebate.com is going to be popping up soon. You guys go and check that out. True Man of Steel on Tumblr and Twitter. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining us. I can't wait to have you on for future episodes. And for everyone here, Katie, Danielle, Jean, Lily, you guys are all great, and I love talking to you guys. I'm glad we were able to catch up after the holidays, and I'll talk to you guys soon. And everyone listening, thank you so much. I know we went a little off topic, but I just want to let you guys know you guys are awesome people. You guys, go ahead and let us know what you guys think of the Batman v Superman commentary we just did, or any of your thoughts on Justice League or anything going on in the DCEU. Keep the conversation going in the comments, and if you guys like you see here, always hit subscribe. Let people know in the DC fandom about the show that we do here. If you guys want to, again, keep the conversation going, who knows, maybe one of you will even join the podcast at some point, who knows. But thank you guys for listening, and until next time, have a good one.